Tour de France is brought to you by Coca-Cola.
Welcome then to stage 12 of the 1993 Tour de France. Eurosport bringing you the action from the race as it's happening. And here, Roscioli hanging on for grim death at the moment. This fellow who went away something after 60 kilometres being covered with a group of about 24 men. They went towards the feed station, and then around about 104 kilometres, he decided to press on alone. And so that's what he's been doing, and the gap grew. 2.5 minutes the lead went up, and then 5 minutes, then 7 minutes, and 4 men tried to pull him back to no avail. He kept on going. The gap went up to 160 kilometres. He was at 12 minutes lead, and there you can see how far down he's on classification now. 123rd, 61st he is on the points competition, so he's no great threat to anybody, and it might be a chance when this young rider could get himself a lead. I say young, in fact, he is 28 years of age. He will be, in fact, having his birthday on the 18th of July. He was a professional since 1987, and this could well be the one he's been looking for. And there he is then pressing on towards Marseille. And looking at our commentary team today, by the way, you'll notice a name come up here in just a moment there. We have Vincent Barteau, who in fact won a stage into Marseille, and I think it's about 3 years ago now, so we welcome him on board. And that was on Bastille Day, the 14th of July. I remember the stage very well indeed. And of course, Vincent Barteau held the yellow jersey in Tour de France for something like 17 days or so when he took it with a tremendous breakaway, and it took the rest of the race an awful long time to catch him back. And look at this fellow here then sweating the conditions. He's been pouring water on his head too to cool down, because it's quite warm now, and the riders then having a very hot and humid day. He's going to run into a bit of a headwind on the way down into Marseille, and that might give the bunch a time to react. The last time check we had, in fact, the maximum was 19 minutes. It was coming down to about 16 minutes, but you can see now that this rider here is desperately hanging on, and a chasing group has formed, and we're waiting for confirmation of that chasing group, but it sounded to be Yaman, Ludwig, Taffy, Pulnikov, Gerotto. We think Abdul Jafarov and Jalabert were there together with Ballerini. They were 1 minute 40 seconds up on the main field. I'll have to wait and see if that is confirmed later on, but no doubt about it, this fellow here really trying to get this particular stage, which is the longest in the Tour de France this year. 287 kilometres for this stage here, which really is, I suppose, turning the screw as far as the riders are concerned, because yesterday, after that terrible hard stage up to the Isola climb, a lot of riders were really dead tired, and in fact quite a number have been eliminated for falling outside the time limit, and a number also abandoned yesterday. So as this man is pressing on now, just one look at him again, and just I will dig out my little notes here and put you in the picture about those riders who took an awful pasting yesterday. And interesting enough, quite a few changes really, particularly in the green jersey, because two of the riders that really yesterday had an awful day were Nelson and Cipollini. Nelson and Cipollini have both been battling for the green jersey in the Tour de France. They were really out of the race yesterday, because Cipollini came outside the time limit, whereas Nelson retired from the race. So you can imagine how they must have felt, having had so much success early in the race, Nelson and Cipollini both having worn the yellow jersey. And that stage yesterday, when Indurain and Rominger came up the finishing straight into Isola, up that climb, then a lot of riders were still a long, long way back. In fact, the cut-off point was 35 minutes and 51 seconds after the winner, Rominger, went over the line. And outside the time limit, as we're looking now at this little group of riders, which I said to you earlier on, included Yaman, Ludwig, Taffy, Pulnikov, Gerotto, Abdul Jafarov, I think is there, Jalabert and Ballerini. We'll just recheck that for you at the moment as we pick up some of the numbers of this little group here. There we are. Abdul Jafarov is there. I thought he'd actually made it across this little group wearing the green jersey, because yesterday, with Cipollini retiring from the race, who was previously wearing the green jersey, Abdul Jafarov there. That's Jalabert in the pink, by the way, not 81, because 81 is Franco Ballerini of the GBMG team, and they've now got his number up on the pink jersey. And then a teammate here then of the leader, Pulnikov, is in this little group as well, and he certainly won't, I think, do anything to try and aid that chase, nor in fact will number 19 there, Taffy. So there are two of the riders from the Carrera team up with this little group here, trying to stay in contention, and just if they sweep up their teammate, they might well give him some emotional assistance if they can only do that. Well, Ludwig here looking for a stage victory today, and if it is down to a sprint between these riders, the rest of the field don't catch up, then certainly Ludwig could be a good bet. He's had, what, about 3 fourth places in the sprints in the early stage of the Tour de France, but today we're back on what I might call the flatter part of the course, although we haven't actually shown you much of the sort of contours at the beginning, but I can put you in the picture there. Jalabert putting his hand up, wanting for, I think, some assistance from his team car. Let's have a chat with him. Just shows you then that a lot of rabbits in this one. Nobody any great shakes to the overall general classification. And just spare a thought too, by the way, for Abdul Jafarov, who is in here. Yesterday when the stage finished, Abdul Jafarov was the last but one man. He came in 35 minutes and 51 seconds. Just behind him, Kasani was also 35 minutes and 51 seconds in 151st place. They just scraped inside the time limit, and if in fact Abdul Jafarov and Kasani had just been a few seconds later, they'd have been hammered and out of the race. But Abdul Jafarov, he had a wonderful lot of help, by the way, because one of his teammates went back to help him earlier on to give him some psychological advantage, and really they grovel up that last climb, because he's a very big man indeed. But Abdul Jafarov, a bit of a cowboy when it comes to the sprints. He careers all over the place, but now he's got that green jersey, and that, I think, is some repayment for the gutsy ride he put in yesterday. Other big hitters like Cipollini just couldn't make the time. Nelson retired as well. So Abdul Jafarov just showing sheer guts as he hauled his big frame over the top of those men. He's a short little chap really, but he weighs a ton, and if you see him alongside the mountain goats that romped away yesterday, then you'll see what I'm talking about at some point in time, because Abdul Jafarov is built like a 10-ton tank, and going over the mountains yesterday must have been absolutely murder for him. When he did it, he's got the green jersey. He's way down on general classification. He's no threat to anybody else. And all he's got to do now is to hang on into this race and hope he can get over the Pyrenees as well, because there are 3 big days yet to come. There he is on the back, Abdul Jafarov. Quite a character. This with his sister in northern Italy at the moment, and one of his hobbies is keeping pigeons. I don't think he sort of takes any pigeons with him to send the results. So 11 jerseys, 11 minutes back to the Abdul Jafarov group, and 15 minutes back to the peloton is the time check we've got for you now. So there's still a slender chance then that our leader can stay out. The stage is not due to finish until something round about 5 o'clock, so he's still got an hour and 3/4 of grafting up the front. They have pulled back something like 5 minutes just recently. Slowly but surely they're going to reel him in at this rate or not. So it's going to be brinkmanship, and let's hope the Roskilde can just hang on in there at the moment. On a course which does twist and turn. We're running virtually parallel to the Mediterranean coast. The riders, we've been down in and very parallel to Caen. We've actually turned a sharp right near Nice. Well, that's not far from where Sean Yates lives, and we just cut across the little roads heading on down to Marseille. The whole course running almost in a westerly direction, touch of south in it towards Marseille, almost a westerly direction, and the left-hand side, the riders here, is the Mediterranean and all those beautiful seaside resorts of Saint-Tropez and San Rafael, and Toulon is not far away from them on the left-hand side as well, and Jerez, the track down by the bay where we had the World Cup track meeting just a couple of weeks ago as well. So they're going over some pretty conky stuff, by the way. They're not big climbs, but they're the sort that would actually test the legs of the riders after the first category climbs, 2 of them yesterday and 2 Hope category climbs. In all so far, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 fourth category climbs for the day and 2 third category climbs. And if we look back at the climbs so far, let me put you the picture about the early climbs. We hit the first of the climbs at the Côte de Gatillère. That was after some 61 kilometres had been covered. Of the fourth category climb, and here Roscioli up in front, that was when this group started to form at the front, and he was part of that. And they went up over the top of that first climb. It's Varonk who took first place. And then just behind him, the little devil himself, Chiappucci, who rides for the Carrera team here for Roscioli. He was in that group. They were 11 minutes back to the chasing group, as we said before, and 15 minutes to peloton, the last time check we had. Well, up the Côte de Gatillère, the time then for the leader, the leader was Varonk, Chiappucci behind, and then Stevens after that. So then we went down the other side and headed off towards the next climb of the day after 90 kilometres had been covered. And Côte de Châteauneuf was the next climb. I wasn't into the Châteauneuf du Pape. Well, no doubt somebody will tell me, because I'm not familiar where the wines all come from, but no Châteauneuf might well be to do with that. But anyway, that's a fourth category climb after 90 kilometres. And there, of all things, recovering yesterday from really having a great struggle, Stephen Roche took that climb ahead of Le Marchand, and then Roscioli was moving up. He was in that little group. He went over in third place. And then when we went on to the next climb of the day, after 160 kilometres had been covered, and here we see Ludwig having himself a drink. Let's pause for that for a moment while he helps himself to some drinks. As Martin Erling was saying yesterday when he's with me, on the flatter stages they can drink any up to 10 bottles during the day. Certainly between 7 and 10 bottles of liquid they're going to pour down their throats, because they're sweating like crazy at the moment, and we've already seen Roscioli with the perspiration and the water pouring off him. A rather overcast day today, but it's quite humid as well. Olive Ludwig riding for the Telecom team now. He switched to that team, which is very much a German team, and just the odd rider from outside Germany. Brian Holm of Denmark is in the team this year in the Tour de France. So Olive Ludwig, previous green jersey in the Tour de France, trying to really stay with another green jersey here, Abdul Jafarov. Well, they've seen a few sprint finishes in their time, so Ludwig and Abdul Jafarov, if this lot comes together, with Jalabert as well, another great sprinter, all looking now to get themselves up there on the victory rostrum, because the whole of the tour for the last 2 days has been put back to front, really, because the yellow jersey, Miguel Indurain, Miguel is back in the main field at the moment. It happens to be his 29th birthday today, so if you hear some Spanish people on the side of the road singing their version of Happy Birthday to You when we go back to the bunch, that's the reason then, because Miguel now having his 29th birthday today, and of course he's got the yellow jersey, so that's something to take through the day. But Miguel yesterday tried to win the stage at Isola. He certainly was a bit miffed when Rominger took his second consecutive stage, so no birthday celebration for him as far as he was concerned. Indurain 29 today, and he then will have to sort of celebrate it back in the bunch, because he really isn't his sort of day today. He'll happily let the lower place riders go up the front while he keeps an eye on the rest of them. So here are then 216 kilometres have been covered in the race so far. There are 71 kilometres left, and he really is beginning to feel the pace, I think. And this is the group doing what they can to pull him back. Abdul Jafarov, with the concentration on this fella's face. Well, he survived yesterday. Congratulations go out to him. Jalabert on the far side in the pink, a somewhat better climber. Ludwig survived yesterday to another big man. And there, just behind then, number 28, that's Tebaldi in this little group. A real mixture of nations here in this little one, I can tell you. Zedji coming up to have a word with Perotto. Time to take the old glasses off. And here we are, our leader still hammering away at the front. 10:28, well, they just pulled back 32 seconds or so to this little group behind him. Heading in towards the finish at Marseille. They finished 30 times, by the way, in the past in Marseille since the first time the race went there. 1903 that the race was first founded, the Tour de France, and the race went to Marseille in 1903 on the first time that the Tour de France was ever run. So this really is celebrating 90 years of the Tour de France in no uncertain way to have the race going there today. And it's one of the most frequently used towns on the route as well. So there's been, 80 Tour de France's, and 30 of them have gone to Marseille. And in fact, the second stage of the Tour de France last year was from Lyon to Marseille. The first stage in the 1903 Tour de France was from Paris to Lyon, and the fellow Garant covered 467 kilometres on that first stage of the race. Just think about that. It took him 17 hours to get through to win the race that day. Paggi was second, Georget was third, and the second stage took him from Lyon to Marseille, and that was 374 kilometres. So while today they got 287 kilometres to cover, just think back to 1903 when riders were riding on roads that were just mere cart tracks for most of the way, very uneven surfaces, not well made like we've got now, riding bikes with single speed gears, very laid back frames, great big fat tyres. You had to carry lots of tyres on your back and round your bike because you had to look after yourself. Once you set off, you were looking after yourself. No team cars following you, nobody to help you if you punctured, and of course they had to ride in fact through the night as well, because they used to start late in the evening, ride through the night, so they actually arrive at the stage town in daylight the other day, sometime in the afternoon. So into Marseille in 1903, we had the stage victory in there by Aucoutier. We came here again in 1904, at least they did. I wasn't around at the time. 1904 when Fire won the stage into Marseille. And it's been like that for a number of years. And as I said to you earlier on, my co-commentator in the French section here, Vincent Barteau won in 1989. Looking back, people like Armani. That's not the man who makes the suits, by the way. He won in 1971. Riotti in 67. Stablinski, Jean Stablinski won in 1957. He's on the race, by the way, now. He's one of the people driving the organisers' cars, looking after certain sectors of the race. So Stablinski here on the race. He's retired now. His son runs a very successful bicycle import business into France, still trading under the name of Jean Stablinski, with the champion of the world still emblazoned on the bicycles that he brings in. So John Stablinski won in 1957. And way back through the years, lots of very famous names, people like Pellissiers have won in here, Lafferby's won here, Spiker, some really great names. Anton Magny won here as well. So we've got a real roll call of honour going back over the years since the first time, 1903, the race came into Marseille. Well, it's some way down the road yet, something in the order of another, 67 kilometres or so. Press going through, wanting to see what's happening. With these big gaps opening up now, the press have a chance of nipping in and out with their motor cars and getting a close look at the bikes and the bicycle riders, and have a look to see what's going on. Taffy just rolling through for Camira. He's not going to aid this group at all, because see Pulnikov, they've got Tibaldi here for Gatorade just in front of them. Pulnikov was just ahead for the Carrera team as well, and Pulnikov comes from the Ukraine. Just standing out of the group. Andrew Jafrov doing quite a bit of work at the front at the moment. Ballerini, again a very good sprinter roadman, so we've got some pretty good talent in here when it comes to the finishes. They managed to stay away. Looking at the numbers down there, Andrew Jafrov in the green jersey is wearing 181. Tibaldi, number 28, is also in a greenish coloured jersey. That's the Gatorade colours with the blue top for Mega Drive, the computer game company that's sponsoring the team. Gatorade are dropping out at the end of this year from sponsorship, and perhaps Mega Drive may take the whole thing over and done with. So there we got a green jersey on the right. That's a Gatorade one, number 28, Tibaldi. Quite a useful fast rider too. And this little chunky fellow. Talking about how he's hauled his frame over the man. Just look at that. Look at the size of those thighs. And his big stocky body too, short, powerful rider. In complete contrast, you saw yesterday's programme when we had Robert Miller out, by the way. Miller would ride very similar, the same size bike almost. We're back up with our leader at the moment, Ross Goldie. And here we go. Through the town, everybody here at Mazog. 220 kilometres covered, 67.5 kilometres to go. Well, he's been on his own now for something round about 130 kilometres or so. That's about 70 miles, and this is a sort of lone long attack which riders are capable of doing when they're lowly placed on general classification. Because this fellow at the moment, Rossio, looking down the list, he started this morning at 123rd place, 1 hour, 19 minutes and 17 seconds down, and the gap now has come back to 10 minutes, just over 10 minutes then to the chasers as we went through that last time check with 67k to go. And here are the chasers coming after him. on that climb. Well, Jalabert in the pink jersey, green points victor in the Tour de France before, has now said that he's looking for stage victories. And on the general classification at the moment, in the points section after the shakeout yesterday, as Girotto begins to struggle just a little bit at the back here. Remember, they've got some very, very tired legs, these riders. The last 2 days in the mountains have really hit these big fellas, and they've been struggling to stay on the pace. But in the points at the moment, Abu Jafar 138 points, Shandri from Motorola 129, Olaf Ludwig, who's in this little group now, has 120 points, Jalabert of Onse 113 points. Then we get to Ingrain at 86, Feligato 76, Moseo 74, and so on. So really, in this little group we've got now the riders who want to stay away if they possibly can do to collect more points, but could well now begin to give us a new battle for the green jersey. Abdou Jafar 138 points. Shandri has missed the move today, the Motorola rider, and we haven't been back to see the bunch yet, but I would have thought that probably Motorola would like to try and pull this little group back, because they I think would like to close up a little bit on this front group here. But as far as Benesto is concerned, and Klaas, they're not going to worry too much about this group at the front, because nobody's a great threat overall in general classification. I'm just flicking down a little list now to have a look to see how this little lot, who is the best place rider. Pulnikov, by the way, is in this group, and he's 20th this morning. Pulnikov in 20th place, 27 minutes and 42 seconds behind Miguel Indurain. So the fact that this little group now is just something around about 4 minutes ahead of the peloton. Indurain's not going to bother about Pulnikov being in this group at all. It's not going to be any great threat as far as he's concerned. So the rest of the riders here could probably think, well, the pressure's going to come off. Benesto's not going to chase us down. The class people are not going to chase us down. So it's a jolly good move for the sprinter specialities who are going to say, right, this is the day when we could probably help ourselves to a bit of glory and, of course, some cash at the end of it all as well. Jalabert there, looking at him, heading quite comfortably. Gibaldi on the far side, hasn't been doing a lot of work at the front at the moment. And still Ballerini, then Ludwig. Taffy number 19. Pulnikov is number 14. That's the one who's best placed in general classification out of this little lot. He can move forward a few places, I would have thought, on the classification, but no great threat, I'll say, to the yellow jersey at all. Pulnikov for career, then Abdou Jafar, then Carotto, winner of the race in Leeds last year, Wincanton, when it's now being taken over by the Leeds Council, who're going to put a super race over Home Moss, and he there riding in the yellow jersey, just behind the green jersey of Abdou Jafar. The pink jersey, the Onse colours for Jalabert, then the green colours with the blue top to them of number 28, Tibaldi, and 81 here just dropping in for GBMG. That is Franco Ballerini. Olaf Ludwig for Telecom, just drifting on in. And there we are, this is a fellow at the front. There we are, he's got his heart monitor going flat out. He's got the distance clear there, he knows how far it is to go. Well, 63 kilometres left, you can see Carrera, the jean manufacturers, Blue Age they call them there, and a very good close-up of these rather marvellous colours that they use, and also his pulse meter. He really is working hard, isn't he? Look at this chap. And see those neat little shorts have at the back with little pockets on them as well. We'll miss this gear, by the way, when Carrera stops sponsorship next year, because undoubtedly a lot of teams just wear black shorts or the coloured shorts of their team as such, but along have come Carrera, who've made cycle racing shorts look a bit like cut-down jeans. And I know a lot of people wear cycling gear when they're actually riding bikes now. It's amazing how these lycra shorts have gone into other areas like disco dancing, and you even see tennis players in them now and football players with a form of the lycra shorts that cyclists have worn for a long time. And these Carrera jeans, quite noticeable in their style. It looks like Tissoni, or a soda manufacturer, drink manufacturer, might well pick the team up next year. So that'll be useful as far as they're concerned. Telecom on the back, the German Telecom organisation. I wonder if we get British Telecom in the UK to sponsor a team as well next year, because Belgacom, the Belgian team, as a Belgian telephone company, they put a bit of money into Lotto team as well. I wonder if British Telecom would like to have a phone home team. And I don't know, we're getting enough British riders though to stand the tour. It's been a bit tough this year. Robert Miller did a great ride yesterday, but he's back in the main field with the yellow jersey of Indurain, celebrating his birthday. Still Pulnikov in the lead, and this group trying to chase him down. Somewhere to go yet. Don't go away. And this group of riders then still chasing after a lone breakaway. The last time check we had was 10 minutes with some 67 kilometres to go. The gap between themselves and Roscioli on the front, with the main field something like about 4 minutes back behind that. So the danger, I think, probably is that this little group here might well find the main pack come up unless they're prepared to work a bit harder. They're not really going too hard, because the reason is that these two riders from Carrera are coming through, but they're not pushing the pressure on at all. They're just rolling with it. Carotto going through next, and then Jalabert after that. So they're not really, I think, intent upon those two riders from Korea doing much more than just turning a few wheels round, turning a few pedals round, a few revs here, dropping off the front and sitting in there, hoping that if their teammate does get collected, they can then just hope to sweep him up and stay with it, in with a shout for the sprint. But they're up against some very big sprinters indeed, and it may be, of course, they're just going down into the sprint for the second place, unless they can really put the pressure on now. We're going into quite a few little hills now. We're approaching the third category climb of the Côte des Glaciers, and that is going to be some 57 kilometres from the end. So we've got two climbs fairly close together, just around about, 13 kilometres separating as such. So we're getting up towards another climb yet to come. Then once we go to the top of that one, just, what would it be, another 12 kilometres away, we hit the Col de l'Espignoles, l'Espignoles. That's a difficult word for me to say at this time of day, after yesterday 6 hours in the commentary point. Well, I must say, thank goodness that Martin Illy was with me. Martin did a great job yesterday. He's gone off training now, because he's got to keep his legs turning round for the events yet to come. But he will be back in the commentary box next Thursday for the stage into Po, Tarbes Po, another nutcracker, and probably the one when the race is finally won or lost. So that will be with us. He'll be with us on next Thursday. So we've got this right now begin to struggle as we're going up this climb of the Glacier. Then with a Col de l'Espignoles, I'll give it up. The climb with 40 kilometres to go. Then just over the top with 22 kilometres to go, he's got a sprint. And then there's another third category climb just 4 kilometres from the finish. Now that's a nasty little sharp one, and when they come over the top of that one, it's a bit like the going up the Poggio on the Milan-San Remo. They've got a sharp little nasty climb, and that has got to be the place where anybody who's not a sprinter has got to try and attack to get away. So through Mazog, they're well down on our leaders still. Well, these lone breakaways, that's what the Tour de France is all about, the way in which you get some characters prepared to have a go and throw down the gauntlet and do what he can to make a name for himself. I'll go back up to him. I'll tell a little bit about that fellow in the lead. Well, combination of time just coming in that the main field is still 4 minutes 10 seconds back on the Abdul Jafarov group here. They've been cutting back into the lead of Roscioli, which at one time was 19 minutes. The last time check we had, it was down to 10. At long last we see the group, and as you'd expect, Benesto on the front, and you see on the left-hand side the darker blue colours, Yellow Nidem there, word perfect. I felt they've got to do something today to try and get some success. They've had a pretty quiet tour so far. Jan Ross might not like me to point that out, but nevertheless, that's a true fact that word perfect ought to have been in with the action today, but they've missed it. Another team that's missed the break today, Motorola, so that's a misfortune to them. But Benesto on the front, it's not about the picture break up then. They're a long way back down the road, by the way, something like about 4 minutes 10 seconds the last time check we had behind this little group here. Well, he's 13:50 now is the time check. for the leader. The last time check we had before that was 15, so they only pulled back about a minute at the moment. And this particular climb they're on now with 57 kilometres to go, there's a fair chance that that chap could stay out there, by the way. And the only people that could catch him, I'd have thought, says he, sticking his neck out again and putting his side strolls in it, will be this little group of riders here. But they're going to have to just go up a notch, and that's going to be difficult with two of the career riders in there. They're rolling through. See Abdul Jafarov going through on the front now. Then next of the Carrera went through as well. Frank Pino just over the far side there for Chazelle, just having a look then at Marino Alonso of the Benesto team, just up in front of number 3, Jean-Francois Bernard, riding there number 7, Prudencio Indurain, just on the far side, 196, again Patrick Eno for the Chazelle team, who are doing quite a nice little ride, because they've survived the Tour so far and some rough times. Holospe there for Benesto, and look at the state this fellow's in. So Uriarte there, you can see the bandages on him from the crashes these riders have had in the race so far. Half the trouble is, apart from the pain in the day, it's sleeping at night. Try to lip read that one, but didn't quite get it. I say sometimes with our cameras pointing towards the riders, the sound mic can pick up what they're saying. On that occasion it was signalling as such. There's still these 8 men on that climb. That's it, the Glacier climb. When he gets to the top of this one, there'll be 57 kilometres to go to the finish. Well, for Fabio Ascioli, a lot rests on this one because he's got this climb, he's got a bit of flatland, well, undulating stuff. He then has the col, which I can't pronounce, with 247 kilometres covered, and then a short one. If he can get over this climb and last another 17 kilometres on his own, he has a fair chance still of winning the stage. And that could bring him his first professional victory, by the way, since he started riding as a pro. He turned pro in 1987. In the first year, he was 103rd in the Giro d'Italia. Then he moved on in 1988, quite a useful ride, by the way. He got a 4th in Milan San Remo, just missed a podium place, and he must have thought that his days in the pro ranks were going to be one of success, but it wasn't to be, because by the time he went into 1989, the best place was 10th in the Giro de Campagne when he's riding with Ariel Steer, and he was 13th in the Henniger Tour. Moving on into 1990, good ride though. He took a 2nd place in the Grand Prix E3, and then in the Giro d'Italia he was 61st, he was 72nd in the Wincanton in Britain, and he rode the Tour of Britain as well, the Kellogg's Pro Tour in 1990, finishing in 23rd place. He rode the Wincanton again in Great Britain in 1991, the big classic, which is part of the World Cup Series, where he finished 31st. He was riding then for Del Tongo, and he finished 80th in the Tour of Italy. Moving on to 1992, he was 9th last year in the Championship of Italy, and he rode the Giro d'Italia and finished in 95th place. But perhaps last year was his most disappointing occasion, I suppose, when he's riding in the Tour of Switzerland, and he had a fellow called Beschard coming in to the finish. I think it was the last at one stage. They were going into a velodrome finish, track finish, and they took slightly the wrong turn, and although Beschard won the stage, he was 2nd. They were disqualified because they followed an official car which was taking a shortcut. They'd have won the stage anyway, or Beschard would have won it anyway, but they disqualified them, and that was a great disappointment for him. So he's out in the lead. This is the main pack then, and they're considerably behind. The last time check we had, they were something like about 13 minutes and 50 seconds ahead of them. So Gerard Rouet, who's been really riding himself out, this fellow has done a marvellous job in the Tour de France this year. He's been absolutely in there helping in. Look, he's been down to the car, by the way, to get feeding bottles. See that? And they're passing them around here. He's got 2 on his bike. Who else wants one? Well, he's got 2 as well, so he's got an empty one here. This will go straight into the hedge. And some young lad, Last drop of water now. Let's see where it goes. Into the gutter. Some spectator will be fighting for that souvenir. There we go. In it goes. And in fact, the spectators are looking the other way at the moment, so they haven't seen they've got a free bid online there. One of the Coca-Cola bottles that you only go to start in the morning. I'll tell you, as far as the eye can see, there are red Coca-Cola bottles being handed out to team cars because, as Martin was saying the other day, you can get through anything like 10 bottles of water. You imagine there are 9 riders in the team and 10 bottles per man. You're talking about taking somewhere around 100 bottles of water, or whatever they choose to ride. Most of them use water anyway. 100 bottles out with the team every day, because as soon as they finish drinking and they just sling them away. You might carry 2 into the finish, but if it's full of water still, they throw them away as well. So it's 100 bottles are likely to be in the back of the team cars, and when you multiply that by the fact that we started with 180 riders in the race anyway, and we're now down to 151 left, so 100 bottles times 151, which means something this morning that Mr. Coca-Cola must have gone out and donated something like 1,500 feeding bottles to the team cars this morning for the race. And they do that every day, multiply that by 20 days, by the way, and you can imagine how they have to transport these bottles in thumping great Pantechnicons, taking up a lot of space and not much weight either. But that's just the background organisation that you have to have in a race of this nature. Simplistic things like that. The sheer size of the Tour de France, like over 3,000 people travel with the Tour, the hotel bedrooms that have to be booked, all the vehicles that have to be provisioned and supplied to all the people on the Tour. It's just a tremendous logistic exercise, and we sit here and you sit there watching the race on the road, but round about it, everything that drops into place, you've just got 180 riders starting, 151 left, and there's something like 3,000 other people whose job it is to either capitalise on the publicity, be there in the press writing about it, be on television talking about it, be in the television backroom boys as they are, our lovely lads, pressing buttons and making sure the sound's good, the quality of the picture okay, the camera picking up what you have. Massive number of people on this race, bringing it all to people. And alongside the road, remember, this is a free sport, by the way. It costs nothing for these people to park the cars here today. They've come out, they've got a picnic going, and they're going to see the Tour de France pass by. They've read about it in the newspapers right up to today, and they're the sympathetic round of applause. Some of them may never have been racing cyclists. They're not your sort of knowledgeable people who actually have been competitive. They've come out to see these lads who've been riding themselves out now on their bicycles since we started out at the Puy de Fou. And there's some very, very tired men indeed. 151st overall in the classification is a fellow called Farazan from Lotto team. He's 2 hours, 5 minutes and 52 seconds on general classification to Miguel Indurain. Just imagine that deficit which he's lost each day when Indurain has been just riding like a machine. We saw him yesterday, and here goes our leader up towards the top of that climb. He's not going to dislodge the King of the Mountains, who's Rominger at the moment, because Rominger's got so many points. On these 3rd and 4th category climbs, there's not very many points at all at stake, so we can't see the King of the Mountains jersey going to be any threat at all today. This lad's certainly going to pick up quite a lot of points in the King of the Mountains, but not really going to threaten Rominger, who wears the polka dot jersey. Rominger, who collected 2 stage victories in quick succession, and that really doesn't happen very often in the Tour de France, I can tell you. So he's back in the polka dot jersey, and we'll wait for the rest of the riders to come over that the top to get a bit of a time check, just to see what the gap is. Hello, his hand's gone up. Hang on, what's the problem? Oh dear, we just switched off the cameras and the arm went up. I hope he hasn't punctured, because although he's got plenty of time on these riders here, nevertheless, if he's going to have to stop to change his bike, then the rhythm could go down a little bit. Ballerini on the front. Hello, we look like we're short a rider here, I think. No, are we still there? We had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Let's look at that little lot. We've lost one of the Carrera riders. Have we, or have we not? Grotto is there. Jalabert is there. Tibaldi is there. Ludwig's there. Jalabert is there. Oh yes, they're both there, so one was covered. Sorry about that. Didn't hope to put any alarm into anybody. But That's in the pink, Jalabert. On the right-hand side of the screen was Fidanza. Well, got the stars and stripes hanging out to dry. Oh, just one bit of information for you. Sorry, I didn't give you this earlier on, but there's so much to pick up and present to you. In fact, Lance Armstrong, the American who won a stage in the Tour just a few days ago, Lance didn't start this morning. The other man who's abandoned today, Ledenoir, who has packed it up on the way through, so that slimmed it down. The other people yesterday who came in outside the time limit, Kasani being the last, the previous King of the Mountains, went over the line 35 minutes 51 seconds down on Miguel Indurain. Miguel Mauri, he dropped out. He was outside the time limit yesterday, and of all things that to well, we reckon it's 9 minutes 35 seconds between the leader and the green jersey. We've got the watch running here to see when they go over the top of the climb, if it's come down at all from that. But just say, apart from Mauri, who was outside the time limit, Nevens was outside the time limit, Cosseltine was outside the time limit, Carla Bowens, previous champion of Belgium, outside the time limit, and of course Mauro Cipollini, the green jersey, outside the time limit. I suspect, knowing him, he's probably scarpered straight down to the beach at Marseille, and he's now sunning himself and thinking of the money he picked up in the Tour. He did a great ride, but he just couldn't haul his big frame over the mountains at all. But the other man who was outside the time limit yesterday, great disappointment, was Guibert Duclos-Lassalle. Duclos-Lassalle struggled on all day yesterday, and I don't think at 38 years of age that he really would like to have gone out eliminated on time. He was manfully trying to stay inside the time limit, but the winner of the Paris-Roubaix earlier this year, suddenly Anno Domino has got him. The old time had finally struck a blow to his legs, and in fact at the start of the Tour de France the press was saying, is it the end of an era? People like Fignon yesterday retired as well, and Fignon, been around so many years then, twice winner of the Tour de France and winner of the Tour of Italy, had to climb off his bike, something he's bitterly disappointed about yesterday. I'm sure that Duclos-Lassalle was bitterly disappointed to finish outside the time limit. And of course Greg LeMond, suffering at the moment with some mystery illness, couldn't take part in the Tour either. So we're seeing a lot of the old names who've dominated the Tour de France for the last 10 years or so, and now finding it difficult to stay with some of these new up-and-coming riders. Although Indurain's been around an awful long time, he's been maturing very steadily indeed, and I think we're going to find the next couple of years a whole new band of riders coming through. The Romigers, the Zullas coming through, the way in which some of these virtually unknown riders like Armstrong, who's only turned pro the back end of last year, come into this race determined to have a go. So I think the whole sport is looking very healthy, but we're going to have a little bit of a hiccup whilst the previous men who control the racing and were the dominant riders on the road are now going to be out of action. We're also going to lose people, slowly but surely, like Ludwig looking down in there. He turned pro very late on because of being an East German. He couldn't ride for money. He had to ride with the national teams. And a lot of the Germans who turned pro suddenly after the Iron Curtain came down, very well-known amateur names. I think we'll find them. See that subtle little... I don't know if you noticed that. When he went to collect that food parcel from his car, he put his hand around and the car accelerated, and for about like 10 feet or so or thereabouts, he was just dragged a little bit, then he sort of let go and flew off. It's not cheating, it's just one of those things that team cars do it. I mean, these team managers are all ex-bike riders. They know when the bloke's gone back. Just a little bit of toe like that. It's not cheating at all. It's just helping him back into the main field, and that's one of the little tricks of the trade, they put it. So you see they put the hand sort of backwards to the team manager. He puts his hand out, and a subtle little way of having a little bit of acceleration. I wonder if Ballerini's going to do the same thing. Nobody criticised it, because if a bloke drops back for a drink or something to eat, then the fact he gets a little bit of a toe for 2 or 3 metres, it's not cheating at all. Adler Japarov in the green, riding for the Lamprey team. It look like they're going to strengthen their team next year. In fact, the Lamprey team might be splitting. The Lamprey going one way and Pulte going the other. And look at his thighs now. It's about how chunky and strong these sprinters are. And you can see him there, a little pocket rocket, isn't he? And just going through Vladimir Kurnikov from Ukraine. So again, I'll talk about the riders from behind the Iron Curtain that turned pro. Adler Japarov came across with a whole lot of what was then called Russians, of course, but in recent years now they've all found their old nationalities back again. And Adler Japarov trading under that rather strange Uzbekistan, but his name was the Tashkent Tank, I suppose, because that's the town he comes from, Tashkent. And here then, Andrea Taffi from the Carrera team, an Italian-sponsored team as such. They've got Vladimir Pulikov in the team, who's a Ukrainian. They've got Stephen Roche in the team, who's an Irishman, and Rolf Sorensen, who's a Danish rider. They're still on this climb up towards the top. Last time check we had, there was something like 9 and a bit minutes down, and here is the main pack also on the climb. So the peloton behind, with Benesto still on the front. It's their job, Benesto, as they've got the yellow jersey, to do the work at the front, to keep their man just nicely covered. They won't want to let people like Pulnikov get too far ahead. Pulnikov in that little group just up in front of them, starting out this morning. Was he in, I'm just looking at that little list. I did find him earlier on. He was about 30 odd minutes down, wasn't he? But so they won't want him to get too far ahead. Pulnikov, he's 20th overall, 27 minutes and 42 seconds down. Best placed rider in that little breakaway group at the moment. Whilst they're climbing here with the Benesto team on the front, let me just confirm to you the positions on general classification, in case you haven't picked it up from your paper this morning. Miguel is in the lead by 3 minutes and 23 seconds on classification. They time the riders every day, and I think I can see Sean Yates back on the left-hand side there in the blue with the red as well. Sean lives down at Nice. We've come right close to his home as we come in on the race today. Yes, he's on the left-hand side of that lot, so I just nipped off the GC to pick up the old Sean Yates, who actually at the moment on general classification is lying 65th overall, 56 minutes and 53 seconds down. This rider in the lead now, Roscioli, 123rd on general classification, 1 hour, 19 minutes and 17 seconds down. Is no great threat at all to anybody. Garotto now accelerating away to the top of this climb. There's a few bobs to be won for the riders on the small climbs here, nothing like they get on the big mountains anyway. And they're the names of the riders: Bunyo, Roykink. Haven't anybody seen a sign saying happy birthday to Miguel Indurain, who has got his 29th birthday today, but I'm sure there'll be somebody along the route with a suitable placard if we can pick it up on our cameras. And still then, Carotto on the front, who did a great ride with Jalabert last year in the Wincanton Classic into Leeds. When they circuited round Leeds, he just clopped off. Jalabert absolutely blew up. Well, he's with him here at the moment, so British viewers who were actually at Leeds for the race last year, and please, my apologies to other English-speaking people who listen to our programme in Scandinavia and across Spain and northern Italy and other parts of the world where they don't have their own language, because we transmit in French and German. And the gap now, at that point, 9 minutes 30 seconds. According to my notes, it's 9:30 to the green jersey group. So I was, interested in talking about the Leeds Classic. Jalabert in the pink there. In fact, there are confirmation from our caption people that I got my watch pressed at the right time. And many of the riders you're seeing here will be in the Leeds Classic. Wincanton now, the great company involved in transport of bulk liquids, and a very wide-ranging company. They've got hire companies as well, hiring motor cars to companies. They're great people when it comes to getting goods moved around the countryside and across Europe as well. Backed out of the Classic now, but Leeds have stepped in, and so that'll be the big race in August, following on right behind the Kellogg's Pro Tour. And many of these riders that you're seeing now will be there. And not only will they be riding, of course, in the Kellogg's and Wincanton, but English spectators will get interested in cycling. Come down and see the Tour de France next year, when we have a couple of stages from Dover to Brighton, and then the circuit, Portsmouth. So that's all in the future. That's all for next year. This one man here still pedalling on. He's over the top of that climb. He's down the other side, and his next moment of pain will come as he's suffering now, I can tell you, but with 40 kilometres to go, he's got another climb yet to come, and that'll be a fourth category climb. So he's over the top of that third category climb. His lead was 9:30 on the main field, so he's still hanging on for grim death, and there's still a chance he'd get to Marseille before the group. Well, as you rejoin us then, Dagotto Lauritsen here. We've just got the confirmation of the earlier climbs. That's the one after 61 kilometres I'm talking to you about. But what's this man here, Dagotto Lauritsen? Because he Norwegian rider riding for TVM on the way up the climb at the moment. Let me tell you that he's involved very much in the World Championships in Norway, which we're going to cover on Eurosport. We've got a massive track program. We're going to be on air at around about 9 o'clock most mornings, right the way through until sort of lunchtime, covering the track, and then again in the late afternoon, early evening. Well, this man is helping the Norwegian Cycling Federation. He's broken away from the main group at the moment, trying to get those leaders, but also information then about Dag Otto Lauritzen in Norway is a slightly one of interest to people following the sport in Great Britain, because Graham Aubrey went this morning at midday for the world hour record, and disappointingly he failed. He covered 50.7 kilometres in an attempt to dislodge the record held on by Moser. Amazingly enough, Aubrey broke that record a week ago, but today, going forward officially, Dag Otto Lauritzen asking for the some information about the leaders. Disappointment then for Aubrey, 50.7 kilometres. Don't write that down in your books now, because I've lost a bit of paper with the actual figure upon it, but it was around about 50.7. Certainly he failed to get the Moses hour record, which is held at 51.151. In fact, Moses is already talking about going for it again in January next year, and Boardman, the Olympic gold medalist, is going for it next Friday down at Bordeaux. But Aubrey, who's a right character, believe you me, has decided he's going again for the record tomorrow morning, I think it is. Certainly see tomorrow morning or the next morning. He's going back again to have a crack at the record. So disappointment then that he only did 50.7 as such, because he did a tremendous ride at Herne Hill out on the open track when he did something like over 49 kilometres. And last week, when he actually rode on the same track as in a trial, he covered 51.52. So this time he was something in the order of a kilometre short of his performance, and a bit disappointed with that one. But nevertheless, Aubrey is going to bounce back and have yet another go. So if we good people back in Britain, if you haven't caught up with that one, that's news hot off the press from Eurosport, bringing you everything's happening in bicycle racing. And this little group at the moment at the front, being hotly pursued by Dag Otto Lauritzen on his own, and Norway, the World Championships coming up in August. We're not only going to cover the track as well, we've got the time trials, and we've got the pro road race and the amateur road race as well. A lot of action then. That's quickly flicking through my diary here while keeping on that. There's a lot. We start on Tuesday, 17th of August at 10 o'clock in the morning. So we go right the way through Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, cracking on the bike racing, and then of course that'll take us through the track onto the Sunday night, and then on the Wednesday the time trials, and on the Saturday and Sunday, the 28th, 29th, the road races. So Eurosport bringing you the best of bike racing, and this fellow's beginning to struggle. 47 kilometres, that's all that's left as far as he's concerned to the finish. And if you've just switched on, let me tell you that he's in a group of riders who went away at around about 60 kilometres on this longest stage in the Tour de France. Something like 24 men were away, and as they went on a very conky sort of course, undulating up and down little back roads and so on, and by the time they got towards 104 kilometres, that man went away, and he was on his own. Best lead he got out there on the road was something around about 19 minutes, the best he had. This group then set after him, and in this group at the moment, Tebaldi, Ballerini, Andrew Jafarov, Pulnikov, Carotto, Ludwig and Taffy, and they, right at the moment, the last time check we had was around about 9.5 minutes as they went over the top of that climb. Mainfield not really interested, they just want to protect Indurain, and there's Pulnikov on the back. He's not going to do a lot of work at the moment because his teammate is up in front. Number 14, the Ukrainian rider, Vladimir Pulnikov. Just up in front then, his teammate Andrei Taffy. Both of them from Carrera. Leader also from Carrera, the team that has Claudio Chiappucci. Yesterday the little devil was attacking on the climb up the Isola. And if you saw the coverage yesterday, Chiappucci came back. I've never seen performance like it when he jumped as he came off the big mountain, the rest of Fon, and down in toward the finish. He was getting his head down, he jumped across the gap and then up towards the Isola. He got up with the leaders, and yesterday what a cracking lot of bike racing we had. Robert Miller too from Great Britain was really having a go. The Scotsman was determined to try and win the stage yesterday. And here back with a cool, calm, collected Laurent Jalabert, who desperately wants to win a stage in the Tour de France this year. The gap then still about the same, 9 minutes, 26 seconds on the run-in towards the finish at Marseille. And for those who read general sports, by the way, I'm sure you've all caught up with the problems of Olympique Marseille, OM as they call them, and all the shenanigans that's going on about bribery and corruption and goodness knows what else. So they're heading down into where a judge has been sitting for something like about 10 days now, hearing evidence about the rigging of football games. Well, a lovely cartoon in the Equipe magazine as the tour started on the first Saturday. On the back page, it showed this great big sewer pumping out water into the Mediterranean, where some people are a bit worried about the amount of effluent. That's a big word, isn't it, on Friday? Effluent going into the Mediterranean. And amongst this effluent, there's three people looking over the top with pegs on their noses and gas masks with some footballs. Well, it all will be revealed in due course, I suppose, but these bike riders here have no interest in that sort of activity at all. They're just riding their bikes here. They earn their money doing it. It's a damn hard way of earning a living. And out there, as far as they're concerned, in Marseille, is the prize for the day and the glory of being a stage victor in the Tour de France. Well, Carrera here asking, I think, for the team car to come through. They must be wondering what the tactics have got to be, because with their leading man in the front, and this group coming up from behind are beginning to lose quite a lot of ground. I stopped my watch, unfortunately, when they went over. Dagalt or Lauritsen is in no man's land between them, and I think the gap might be growing again. But we wait for confirmation on that one. More interest, I think, in the chasing group behind our leader, Roscioli. And this is the lot here. 18:27, it's gone back out again. Well, this lot will be still trundling into Marseille when Roscioli could be down on the beach with his towel out and lying in the sunshine. No, I'm exaggerating, but this fella, let's keep our fingers crossed for him. He's not won a race since he turned professional in 1987. Can he hang on in there? I mean, this is the sort of the whole heart and soul of the Tour de France. A lesser rider whose job it is to work as a domestique, to go back to the team car, to get the bottles, to come up to the leaders, to look after people like Kipucci and Roche. And then when he's away like this, hoping that his teammates here, which we see with the blue shorts on from Carrera, will just help him defend that lead he's got. And let's hope that he can get there at the end and get that victory. He went away, let's say, after 60 kilometres with a group of men, 104 kilometres he was away. This is the longest stage in the Tour de France. There, Albert Bouvet, the fellow there now with his hand outside the window, ex-stage victor in the Tour de France, talking to them. He's a character, I tell you. And in the old days, he used to ride on the motorcycles with the ping-pong bats. I'll just about Albert Bouvet for a minute, that car. And his job was to allow motorcycles to come through, or cars to come through, or to drop back. And he was an absolute tyrant, I could tell you. He was a terror. And he ruled the Tour de France with a rod of iron. And now Albert, getting on in years, sits in that car behind. But even so, when Albert says something, everybody listens. Ex-Tour de France rider, as Jean-Marie Leblanc is, who's now one of the organising directors of the Tour de France. Because it takes riders who have experience in the sport really to keep an eye on the sport, to protect the sport. Commercialism is pushing in very strongly, but you have to make sure the riders who are the heart and soul and core of the sport are able to compete and to ride their bikes and to have every attention to make sure they ride their bike competitively. And people like Albert Bouvet, Jean-Marie Leblanc are doing a great job now on the Tour de France, which is an enormous publicity stunt as far as some sponsors are concerned, but as far as the bike riders are concerned, it's the greatest test there is in the world. The other tours of Italy and Spain are great, but this one, the Tour de France, is the great. Here, the French company Mavic coming through, then having a little chat then to Albert Bouvet. Mavic, who've invented recently a very interesting system for changing gear on electronic impulses, because in the handlebars of the bikes they have a little button that could press and send electronic sensor down to the back mechanism to change gear. So gone are the cables which you had over all the years. So whilst they may have wheels now which look very similar and a diamond frame to those which were designed way back in the early 1900s, modern technology, lightning bicycles, and bringing in also new equipment, new ideas, and new technology to make the product they ride upon that bit better. Jalabert asking for his car. They must be, I'm sure, a bit concerned about that gap, because the last check we had 9 minutes 30 seconds at 57 kilometers over the top of that climb. Jalabert still without the team car. He's looking back again. Here it comes. A quick chat to his team manager. In fact, he wants a drink. There you see all the spare wheels at the back, the front and back wheels, the complete bicycles as well. This takes some tricky doing, by the way. The riders alongside the car, they're travelling at around about 25 miles an hour. The riders and the driver of the car have a tremendous rapport. They have to have in those circumstances. If you come down like that at that rate of knots, then you can do all sorts of damage. This relationship between the rider, the team manager, who's also been ex-rider, is absolutely tremendous. The heart and soul of the game. They're the motorcycles zapping through with the photographers on them. There's a pecking order too for the photographers, by the way. They all have a bib on with a number on, and the photographers have been on the tour for so many years. There are some key photographers who have been on the tour for many, many years. They're allowed to go, first of all, take their pictures, and then they go down to the new photographers on the tour for the first time. Here, Olaf Ludwig. Green jersey in the Tour de France. Not having perhaps his best tour at the moment, having a stack of fourth places, and oh dear, if we get to the end in this sprint and he's in fourth place again, I think he'd take his bag and chuck it in the Mediterranean, because Ludwig, a tremendous car, very nice man indeed. I remember having a chat to him during the Nissan Tour of Ireland, and what a great character, but undoubtedly he'll be a bit upset if he gets a fourth place again in this sprint, because that's been his problem so far. And this fellow in front is still grinding away, grovelling on his bike. Look at them chucking water all over him, trying to keep him cool. It's very humid today. A couple of days ago the temperature was just above freezing at 2 degrees, and here they are moving down to Mediterranean. The clouds come in to cover the sun, otherwise it would have been touching 30 degrees. It's got a little less than that now. It's quite humid, and they're on these little back roads in towards Marseille, keeping away from the holiday routes, because virtually with the whole of France on holiday at the moment, the roads are very crowded down close to the coast itself. A lovely, beautiful part of the world here. We're just going across the edge, the bottom of the Provence, and just between the Provence and the Côte d'Azur. And he's ridden now just alongside Nice with some lovely old elegant hotels, the yachts of Cannes, and the jet set group at Saint-Tropez, and he's now heading on down into Marseille. Beautiful part of the world with vines and pine trees and absolutely magnificent scenery dropping down in towards that big town. So we're wishing the best of luck. Can he hang on in there? It really is a gutsy performance for Roscioli. Fabio Roscioli, coming up to, on the 18th of July, his 28th birthday. Can he get a stage success in the Tour de France? He has not won a race since he turned pro in 1987, and he's murdering himself riding up this climb now. This is the last big climb before he drops down. There's a small third category climb ahead of him. When he goes over this one, he will have covered 247 kilometres of the race today, which covers 287 kilometres. 40 kilometres, of which most of it is downhill. Just that final third category climb up the Côte de Perrier, named after the water. I asked myself, I doubt it, it comes from a long way away from here, but never the Côte de Perrier will be the final climb. And he's going to get this one, he's going to get over the top, and now it's all downhill. This is the last big effort of the day, a fourth category climb. Down he will go. That's the unpronounceable one I've been trying to struggle with all day. You work at it yourself. 247 kilometres covered, 287 to do, 40 kilometres left, 25 miles. He's been out there now for something like 140 kilometres on his own. These are the chasers. Last time check, 9 minutes 30 seconds behind him. GBMG team coming up towards Ballerini. Hand up two for Abdul Japarov. I haven't seen the blackboard recently giving them a time check. 25 miles, something like about 9 minutes. Well, there's a fair chance he could get that stage victory. Abdul Japarov's cars come up. More bottles. Well, that's nice. They're helping each other out here at the moment. The career team also, they've just provided a lot of drink as far as he's concerned now, because look at this countryside. I tell you, we're in a nice part of the world, just off the edge of the Côte d'Azur. Beautiful part of the world, gentle climate, blue skies and the warm seas of the Côte d'Azur. People have been down there on the beaches with their luxury yachts, but inland, ancient villages as well, lovely hilltop towns as well. In this part of the world, the spicy red wine from Bandol, the fresh rose de Provence, and Provençal cuisine, thick aromatic stews with sweet peppers and herbs, or crisp salads and tomatoes and anchovies. This is a beautiful part of the world to be on holiday, but as far as these riders are concerned, they've got a job to do. They've got to pull back that leader. Can they do it then? On their way down this climb, they will really be hammering after him, but my goodness, it looks like he's done a superb job today. Last time check, 9.5 minutes. There goes the Mavic car again. They make hubs, they make chain sets, they make brakes. They have got this lovely gear system as well, Mavic. Make beautiful rims as well, not only for racing bikes, but a lot of mountain bike riders using Mavic equipment as well right now. That's a usual service car, 9 minutes 14 seconds. He still is doing a tremendous ride here. Roscioli in the front, that's the fellow we're watching on his way down. Keep your fingers crossed. He's looking for his first ever victory as a pro since he turned pro way back in 1987. And this is a long drop down, and he's got a tremendous drop then off the top of this this climb that he's just come over, the fourth category climb. It goes right the way down, and at the bottom when he comes to a sprint point at some 22 kilometres. In fact, he's going to have something like 18 kilometres virtually downhill all the way. Keep your fingers crossed, hold your breath. Let's hope he doesn't go off the bike. In fact, I seem to remember that this is where Arnoux, going into the stage in Marseille when Vincent Barteau won the stage in '89. I've got a suspicion from my memory, which is not very good, that actually Arnoux went off the road, and it's a very tricky drop indeed. And we were talking earlier on to Barteau about the drop-in, and he was talking and saying these very narrow roads are quite tricky, and you've got to really be on the ball all the way down. If you think about this chap now, tired out from yesterday, look at it, look, he nearly took a wrong line then. Tired out from yesterday, 38 kilometres, look, he can't get his bike straight, went that way. He had to ride that very hard stage yesterday over those thumping great climbs. Yesterday, this man rode over the Isola 2,360 metres. He then went over the Col de Vars, 2,109 metres above sea level. Then the Col de la Bonnet Restefond, 2,802 metres. Then he had to struggle up the Isola to stay in contention. That was 2,000 metres. And a big fellow like this, who's one that they call the domestique, the water carrier, buried himself yesterday, he's burying himself today to try and win this stage. We wish him the best of luck. Look at this, 67, 70 kilometres an hour. Ahead of him, the blue seas of the Mediterranean, the joy of winning a stage in the Tour de France. Can he make it? Oh, on the brakes. He's got to be tired. This, the longest stage in the Tour de France, 287 kilometres. He's been out now for something like 150 kilometres. Coming up to 100 miles on his own. And the next one. Well, the big bunch behind will take it easy with Indurain in it. But the chasing group of riders will have to watch themselves on this descent, so this could be to his advantage. See how he clips the corners. sets his bike up now. He takes the left-hand side here, the right-hand side over there. Back to the left-hand side. Here we go. Shortest line possible. Watching it sharp. On the brakes. Looks up just in time. That was a difficult one. He's got to come out to the left, drop back into the right. Here he goes. That's nice. Same again, get over to your right a bit. In fact, he's a nice straight swoop ahead of him. He's got to judge. Must pedal quicker. Concentrating on the descent. Concerned about the chasers. Concerned about can he last. Well, that sounded to me like 20 minutes back to the main group. So Indra and the rest of them not bothered about this chap at all. Back minute, they said 20 minutes. I can't imagine that because it's been around at 16. They went up to 18. So in fact, it's 20 minutes back to the main group. So his only concern now is the chasing group of riders just behind him, which we haven't seen for some time. The last time check we had 9 minutes and 14 seconds. You can see the skids there. Somebody with a car's gone straight into that wall. Well, I've been listening to some of the comments there from the radio, race radio, and certainly a lot of riders are being shelled out the back on this course today. A lot of very tired men. And here we go yet again. Well, this is no change at all. Richard Ferronk is always very keen to have a little go. He did so a couple of days in the mountains. And Ferronk now for Festina. Yet another of the escapers. Well, the last time check we had was like 20 minutes for the main group, so he's really got to go to try and get up to the group in front, which is something around about 10 minutes ahead of him. This is the group then, chasing after our lone breakaway rider, and that's the drop down in towards Marseille. That's the road they've got to take yet a while. He's on his descent, he's well down the other side, heading in toward the finish. Can he make it to the end? Well, we're going to keep our fingers crossed. Come back to us after this break to see if he makes it into Marseille. Our lone leader still on this very snaking descent in towards Marseille, dropping like a stone. Roads closed as ever, hammering into the bends. You can see there the sign saying that rocks fall down off the sides of the slopes here. Well, let's hope the road's been swept and cleared before him. I suspect it has. And of course, before him, the big cavalcade of the publicity vehicles would have been along this route. You want to see the publicity vehicles, by the way. There's an enormous cavalcade, taking about half an hour to go through, advertising all sorts of products associated with the tour, and also people who've come along to parade their wares in front of the public along the route. So he now has had the roads cleared ahead of him by the publicity caravan, by the gendarmerie, and this little group here, last time check we had 9 minutes and 14 seconds behind him, might well only be placing themselves in a sprint for second spot. The way he's gone away at the moment, a courageous ride indeed for Oscioli. The Italian's still in the lead. There we are then, confirmation of that climb. Jalabert taking second place ahead of Garotto. Well, as you expect then, the Carrera riders at the back here, not aiding his chase at all. There was some celebration in the old town tonight, I think, when they get down to Marseille. But half the trouble is when you get to a town like Marseille, you know, it's the race has been in some, like at Isola last night, a big ski station as such with all the hotels there, which aren't that full, except a lot of Tour De France people came in. It can be relatively quiet. But when you get down to Marseille with all the bars, the discos, the noise going on, So he's get confirmed the gap 20 minutes back to the main group as far as this rider is concerned. So they're not too bothered about it, because what will have happened, you see, that the riders will have asked who's away. The key men in the Benesso team will have found out that this fellow's away in the front, but at 1 hour, 19 minutes and 17 seconds. So he's going to leapfrog, by the way, on general classification. He's going to gain 20 minutes as such, but that'll move him from 123rd place up into probably Sean Yates this morning was what? 65th at 56 minutes back. 59 minutes back was Inaki Gaston, so he'd probably move around about into 76th place from being around about 123rd. So he'll move up the general classification. That won't mean much to him in terms of money, by the way. What he's looking for is the fact he can say in future years to his grandchildren and to his children, I won a stage in the Tour de France, and that's something that very few people are able to say, because it's a very, very tough thing to do. And right now he's out there, this little group chasing after him. 9 minutes was the last time check we had, and you can see how they're easing themselves around the bends, and he's dropped down now. And here he is at the bottom on the flatter part. Now then, this is where he's got to grit his teeth then, because he's coming up towards the sprint at 265 kilometres at Aubagne, and when he goes through Aubagne at the sprint point, then 265 kilometres covered, arm going up, that's a bit of a disappointment. Then it looks like a flat back tyre as far as I think it's Pulikov is concerned. Sorry, the picture's a bit difficult to pick up at the moment. Just that moment we're trying to pick up what's happening there. I think certainly the back tyre had gone flat. Well, he should be able to quickly change that back wheel and then catch up. Every man for himself. Nostrils full of the smell of burning brake blocks, because, oh, there he is. It is a back wheel. Here comes the change. The quick release mechanism, whack sideways, the wheel put in, drop back inside the back fork ends. He will have knocked his gear mechanism over onto the top sprocket by the 12, so in fact as they drop the wheel out, the 8 lock at the back clears the chain, so you put it back in again, lock it up. But of course when he's in his 12 sprocket, then he's got to work it back up into a lower gear to get away. I think that's Italian for bury yourself, lad, you can get the stage today and I'll buy you a beer at the end. Oh, he's really motoring, isn't he? I've seen some blokes dying at this stage, and he's still away, something like 9 minutes ahead of the rest of them. And the chase is not coordinated at all. They're splitting on the descent. Nobody here seems to be able to take them down at a great rate of knots. And Roscioli's still out in the lead. This is a difficult bit. The riders need a different line from the cars. He's got round okay. Often when they get to hairpin bends like that, you'll see if it's very difficult sometimes, they'll all jam the brakes on the car drivers, allow the riders to come through them, and then they'll start going again down the straight bit. So they're always watching the mirror. You have to have your eyes in the back of your head when you're driving a car in a Tour de France, because the riders are taking different lines and they can go much faster down the hills very often than the motorcycles and the motor cars. And when he's twisting and turning on all these hairpins, you watch the cars pull over and the riders come through. Well, he's getting back now. Quick rear change of wheel from the Mavic team car has certainly helped him. Those yellow cars, what we call neutral service. Round he goes. One stays up in front of the race all day long, and as a break goes, they drop it back because often they can't bring the team cars up from behind if the race is on narrow roads. So they have neutral service cars in front that come back to service the breakaway group from the front. once the team cars come up, the neutral service will drop in either behind them, or the officials might say, no, go forward, in case it splits yet again. But it's a great way of making sure that if a rider has a problem, he can actually be serviced on his way in. Keep your fingers crossed for this fella then, but he's going to get down into finish, and Veronk now trying desperately to get across. Veronk, holder last year for a short period of both the yellow jersey and the polka dot jersey. There you see his positions. 2 minutes back on that group. He's closing up on them. A brilliant effort as far as he's concerned, but he's left it very late indeed. This is a spirited attempt. He's been in the mountains trying very hard, but he's missed the break today. Festina, manufacturers of watches in Spain. And I think the boss of Festina is interested in quite a lot of sports. He puts a lot of money into sporting activities, and I think that's nice when somebody has a business that they're prepared to sponsor sporting life of people like these bike riders here. And what a great collection we've got. Abdul Jafarov riding for Lampre at the front at the moment. Uzbekistan riding for an Italian team. There, Carotto riding for ZG Mobili. They're a furniture company. Gatorade just going through Tebaldi. That's one of the energy drinks. Telecom sponsoring Olav Ludwig from Germany. That's a telephone company. GBMG sponsoring Ballerini, who's just slotted in behind the green jersey after Jafarov. They make a children's clothing MG company, GB being a supermarket group. Onse at the back are that's the pink jersey of Jalabert, then Institute for the Blind, and of course Carrera jeans manufacturers, and Tassoni you see on his shorts here, a soda pop manufacturer as well. He's only got 26 kilometres to go. He's got 4 kilometres to the sprint at Albania. Then ahead of him, the final climb of the day with 4 kilometres to go. And still this group not making a lot of impression on him. But Roscioli on the climbs has helped himself to some special prizes that he's got along the 4th category climbs. He's been getting 1,000 francs a time as he's gone over. That's about 120 pounds, I suppose. He's had a few of those today. He's also taken 3rd category climbs, but he's had 1,000 francs on that as well. So looking back now, he's taken 1, 2, 3, 4 climbs so far. So he's earned himself 4,000 francs there with 25 kilometres to go. Just 3 kilometres away from a sprint. And that's going to be worth a few bob, because he'll go over the line, get himself 5,000 francs, which is about £6,000. So quite a useful payday as far as he's concerned, but of course the big glory is what he wants, to win a stage, and that lies ahead of him. And every day, of course, there's a prize for the most aggressive rider, and that first prize, the most aggressive rider, is worth 10,000 francs as well. So that's a useful prize as far as he's concerned, something like £800 for Roscioli. So he's probably going to get a nice paycheck if he keeps this one going today. And at the end of it all, of course, the final sprint into the finish at Marseille to collect himself a real hatful of money. Veronk now trying to close down that gap. He's really riding himself out. For the victor of the day, 50,000 French francs. That's about something like £6,000, I suppose. So, I haven't done the sums quickly, but I suppose that Roscioli is going to be earning himself the thick end of 10 grand today if he keeps this up. That's in English money. But he'll share that with his teammates, because that's what they do in the teams. And this is where you see these rest of these riders here, 2 of his teammates on the back, just shepherding the group down. They're staying at the back as the guardsmen on the route down. They're all going to share the prize, because here, who would have expected Roscioli, this virtually unknown rider, but he's collecting the thick end of £10,000 today. People like Chiappucci have been battling out there to get all the money so far, and they've always, even with the big prize they've had to share it to the workhorses like this. This man Roscioli, who's ridden as a pro all these years without success. He's raced as a domestique. He's shielded people like Chiappucci. He's helped people like Roche. He's always been in there. Now today, he's going to be providing the paycheck for his team. Other times when he's been riding in things like the Giro d'Italia, then look at the sweat. You can see the white there coming back below the Carrera name. This man has really been sweating throughout the day, and he must now be sweating at the thought, can I stay out there in the lead? This is going to be his great day. And I should think says that the whole of Italy right now will be tuning in to watch him come through. We're jumping up and down in the cafes and bars because they have the tifosi, they call them in Italy. Enthusiastic supporters of any sport, and cycle racing in particular. And here they've got this Italian then hammering on in to try and get this stage victory today. He's on the flat part of the course, coming up towards that special sprint. And the crowd now know from the radio and from the television that this man has really thrown the gauntlet down. He went away after 104 kilometres have been covered. He's taken the shortcuts as fast as he can do. He's got to save every vital second. This is the sprint he's coming up to now. 265 kilometres of the race. He's got 287 to cover totally as he goes across the sprint line here. Just some 22 kilometres left, and he's really burying himself. Just 500 metres to collect that special prize. He's over 20 minutes clear of the main field. There's 5,000 francs waiting for him just down the road. £6,000, 5,000 francs, only, some 300 metres to go. This is his big payday, and that big prize of 50,000 francs at the end of the stage as well, waiting for him. That's again some £6,000. That banner must be a welcome sight to him, because not only it's cash in the bank, it says he's got 22 kilometres to go. A great ride, a gutsy ride, and this is what the Tour de France is all about. Lesser riders having an opportunity to show their strength and their courage, and he's doing just that. The chasing group, last time check, something like 9 minutes behind him. We're going to take a short break. We'll do a time check when they go through that to see what the gap's going to be on the way into Marseille. One man in no man's land between the chasing group of riders: Tebaldi, Ballerini, Abdou-Japarov, Tafi, Pulnikov, Gerotto and Ludwig. Is this man Richard Verong? The other man who also tried to go across was Dagotto Lauritsen. We've not heard much about Dagotto Lauritsen since, but certainly hammering after that group there on his own with Richard Verong. We understand the main group now is well over 20 minutes down on our leader, so they're certainly not going to catch him. But can this little group do it? Because the gap then around about 8 minutes the last time check we had, and the watch is running when they went through that 22 kilometres to go point, and I'll give you a check on that providing we stay with it as well. Ludwig there on the left hand side. Then moving through just behind Ludwig for the career team, that is Vladimir Pulnikov. Next to go through is Jalabert going through, then Tebaldi, then Abdou-Japarov. And we understand that Verong is coming up very quickly indeed. He might add some firepower to this one, but certainly the Carrera riders here just drifting off the front, doing a little bit of work, but not enough. Gerotto hasn't come through at the moment, so perhaps they're saying it's going to be sprint for second place. 20 kilometres to go. Well, that is round about 25 to, say 27 minutes of racing left for our leading rider. The gap showing there that they've been actually racing now for 7 hours on this, the longest stage in the Tour de France. And a very long breakaway indeed is in progress at the front. That's Tebaldi, long, tall, slim figure. Ballerini doesn't seem to be doing all the work recently, so perhaps they're now saying, okay chaps, we're down then to sprinting for second place. And what has been so far a very, very fast Tour de France. Yesterday, Rominger won the stage at an average speed of 31.49 kilometres per hour. The day before, we had a stage when they actually averaged 23 miles an hour, 37 kilometres an hour, over some thumping great climbs. At the moment, Indurain leading on general classification. The average speed so far in this race is 41 kilometres per hour. That's just a fraction over 25 miles an hour in the Tour de France this year. absolutely tremendous, because now we're on stage 12 of this race. We've gone through two thumping great climbs, 2 days of climbing. In fact, the fastest average speed we had before, Pedro Delgado did 39.142 kilometers per hour, Greg LeMond 38.9, and Miguel did just over 39 kilometers. So in fact, the Tour de France at the moment is at least 2 kilometers per hour faster than we've ever had before as an average speed, which just shows how these riders have battled not only along the flat, but they fought their way through the mountains at a tremendous rate. See how he's easing his back, this fellow now. He must be really aching after being away. After 104 kilometers, he was on his own. If he lasts out to the finish, he would have done 187 kilometers on his own. That's well over 100 miles that he would have spent out there on his own. And this group still can't pull him back. Well, looking at the way they're riding now, I think they've decided that perhaps there's no chance in pulling that man back. They're sitting up a bit and taking a drink. And look at the way he's going on now. There is the route of today. He's been all over that little lot virtually on his own. And there we are now, coming in to this point here, 268 kilometers of the race covered so far. Well, surely somebody of here has got to drive this one along now, and it won't be the Carrera team at all. Well, certainly they're in a jolly good position to get the team award today. One man in front, two back here, and the big field is 20 minutes behind, so Carrera could really be bankrolling it today, and they'll need Securicorp to take their cash, I suppose, to the bank. Well, they'll get it at the end of the race anyway, but they're going to get the team award by the looks of it today, because this man's in the lead. He's got two of his teammates behind, and they're 20 minutes ahead of the rest of the field. So they're in for a team classification today. There's no doubt about that one, if they just stay as it is now. So here we are, 9 minutes 35 on the blackboard between the leader on his own, Roscioli, and this group here. They've not yet got to that sprint at all. Varank in no man's land between this group and the main field, which are 20 minutes back. And that looks then less than 25 kilometers to go for this group. They've got a battle, I think, for second place. Well, the team classification is up for grabs today, and Carrera in a good position to do it. And on the stages, I'm just having a quick look now, each stage will be worth 18,000 French francs. So that's about, what, £2,000, I suppose, in English money. So they're going to really coin it, guys. I think this Carrera team are going to take home at least £10,000 for the effort today. That may sound like a lot of money, but spread over 20 days of racing. Here we are with 16 kilometres to go, and it's spread across the whole of the riders in the race, because we had 180 riders start the race. Many of them retired now. We're back down to just 151 riders in the Tour de France this year. So whilst the money might sound pretty good, it's not when you spread it over the survivors, and probably at the end of the day we'll only have something like 120 riders get into the finish at Paris. The psychological advantage of your team manager coming up, and this fellow just has not flagged all day. He's still peddling away here. He's been riding for over 7 hours now after yesterday's tremendous stage. That gut-busting ride up the Isola at the end of it all absolutely knocked the stuffing out of a lot of riders. They were riding yesterday 5 hours and 41 minutes, and he came in yesterday 32 minutes down, so he in fact was in the saddle yesterday for over 6 hours. Most of these riders then 6.5 hours in the saddle yesterday, and now over 7 hours today. This is the Tour de France. This is really pressure on men, pressure on minds, pressure on their bodies. And down in Marseille, the crowd are waiting to see who's going to win this stage today. 30 times we've been into Marseille to finish in the great town alongside the Mediterranean. This is where the sprint was, and now, according to my watch, he's been through this finishing point, the sprint point, well over 8 minutes, coming up towards 9 minutes now. Second and third place, Jalabert moving through. Ludwig behind him, on the PMU sprint that's sponsored by the what's the equivalent of the tote, but you can go and bet your money on the horses. And I think now they wouldn't give you much odds on Roscioli winning the stage. So with that lead now, gone back up to some 9 minutes. Jalabert going away. There, these two could well. I'm sorry about losing the picture. Here we go. It's coming up towards 10 minutes, in fact. As they go underneath that banner now, that was a sprint between Jalabert and Ludwig. I think Ludwig might have just shaded him at it. Then they actually 9 minutes and 40 odd seconds, just under 9:50 down on our leader, and that was at the point with some 22 kilometres to go. There's no doubt about it now that providing he keeps rolling like this and doesn't have the man with the hammer hit him, he's in to put his name on the list of riders. With 14 kilometres to go, they've just come through 22 kilometres to go. So in fact, if my arithmetic is correct, that's 8 kilometres back from him. There's no way they should catch him. Let's hope he doesn't hit a stray dog or some stupid photographer steps out, as we saw with Zuller on the stage into Verdun, and he has a clean ride into Marseille, a town where in 1903 on the second stage of the first Tour de France, the riders came down from Lyon to Marseille, covering 374 kilometres when Aucouturier won that stage in the first Tour de France 90 years ago. And now he's going to put his name on the record books of being the victor, the 31st victor into Marseille. Our co-commentator on Eurosport, Vincent Barteau, for the French side of that operation. I'm sure he's reliving all this at the moment because he won the last stage into Marseille, which was in 1989 that we had here. And there's confirmation that Jalabert did in fact beat Ludwig at Aubagne after 265 kilometres had been covered. It's going to be a ceremonial ride in towards the finish right now. And this man's name then, Roscioli, who's never won a race in his life since he turned pro. He's going to join such great names in Marseille, the big winners over the year, people like Leduc, Magnier, Lapperby, Pellissier, and Stabinski. And Magnier, of course, has been a great victor here as well. So as far as he's concerned now, his name will go on that roll call of honour. 31st victor into Marseille. I'm saying that he's still got some way to go, but let's savour the moment as he comes on down into the finish in Marseille. Well, Barteau won on the 14th of July, which was Bastille Day, way back in 1989. It's a great commercial port with a big crowd there waiting to welcome our victor. There he goes. Well, the photographers now rushing through on their motorcycles to take the picture of this character now, who really has done a great ride on the Tour de France. This the longest stage, and a quick sum as far as I'm concerned, he would have done what, 180 kilometres out there in the lead if he gets the finish on his own. There's a fair chance that that's going to happen right now. And I think that makes about 110 kilometres, 110 miles. I've done my sums very quickly right here. So that's a long old day in the saddle. 9:14, they've not put him back at all, have they? That was confirmation after that sprint as they went through town. So they're going to have to settle for second place. It's going to be a long old time, by the way, before the main group come in. They're something like 20 minutes back. And this has been a day for the lesser riders who've been working as domestics, the riders who really bust a gut in the mountains for their team leaders. And spare a thought too in this little group. We're going back around here. Let's see if we can spot him. And there he is, Abdou Jafarov. He sold it on yesterday into the finish. Abdou Jafarov finished 150th yesterday, 35 minutes and 51 seconds down. Kasani also in the same time, and behind them they put down the gate and threw out riders just outside the time limit. So Abdou Jafarov survived yesterday, as did Ludwig at the moment in this group as well. Another big men that haul their bodies over the big mountains, and they survived. And now we've got the flatter stages for these next few days before we hit the Pyrenees. Because after the stage into Marseille today, we go on to Montpellier tomorrow, then to Perpignan, and then from Perpignan to Andorra, and we get the big climbs coming as they go up into Andorra, and then over to Saint-Lary-Soulan, and then the final big day in the mountains from Tarbes to Pau on Thursday. So tomorrow and the next day, still relatively flat. Abdul Jafarov can really relax with that green jersey on, because on the sprint section of the race at the moment, the green jersey going back up to the leaders. Abdul Jafarov looks like he's going to really keep that one, but this man then heading in then for this stage victory in Marseille. Just listen to that crowd. It must be music to his ears, and he's still firing on all cylinders. The emotion of winning a stage in the Tour de France. Everybody wants to do that. That is the main group. Sorry, it's Veronk, 25 kilometres. My goodness, what a gap there is between the leader and Veronk, and he's already come somewhere ahead of the main group. And you might say, well, what the hell are we watching? You know, bike racing like this with these big gaps opening up. Well, it's all about what was lost and gained in the mountains, because that's where the star mountain climbers gained all the time that mattered. And that's where people like this fellow lost time yesterday. He lost 32 minutes, 53 seconds on Indurain. He's lying this morning 1 hour, 19 minutes back on classification. But this group we've got here at the moment, Pulnikov this morning, 27 minutes, 42 seconds back on Indurain. And in fact, that's quite useful, because Pulnikov, the last check we had, the main group were like 20 minutes back on the leader, which means this group is about 10 minutes ahead of Indurain. So Pulnikov could move forward from being 20th at 27.42. Whilst we look back again at our leader, just think about this. Pulnikov, for the same team for Carrera, can move forward. He can gain something like 10 minutes on most of his rivals, and he could move up then, being something like about 10th overall on general classification. Because Delgado this morning was 15 minutes, 32 seconds down on Indurain in 9th place, and Rancon from the Amaya team was 21 minutes and 17 seconds down on Indurain. So it might be back in that group, riding also for Korea, the same team as Roscioli here. They could probably have their man Pulnikov bounce up into the top 10. And when you get to the finish, there's a lot of prizes in Paris as well, with a scale down on their position overall. So Pulnikov finally ends up in Paris in 10th place. He will also collect 22,000 French francs. That's about, what, the thick end of 3,000 quid. So this is a big payday as far as Stephen Roche and Kia Pucci is concerned. Their team, Carrera, look like they're going to roll themselves in for the thick end of £10,000. That's great. Well, it's been a tough old day today for this rider then, and here goes the sun specs ready to cover his eyes. He rides down in just to make sure that the wind keeps out of his eyes. He's got glasses on as well at the moment. Of course, that's another thing to do with sponsors, by the way, because the sun spec manufacturers make a small fortune out of the advertising they get from things like the Tour de France. Right down on the Mediterranean, the big town of Marseille, famous for many, many things over the years, is going to welcome these riders when they come on into the finish today. 30th time we finished in Marseille. A lot of money to be won today. These riders will have no time. Lovely cartoon, by the way, this morning in Lake Keep, and it showed the riders coming over the mountains, this little sketch of the bike riders, and ahead of them going down into Marseille, because it's a cartoon from Credit Lyonnais, which is the big bank who sponsor the yellow jersey, and their colours are yellow and blue, and they sponsor the yellow jersey, and they got this little inflatable duck, you know, the sort of thing that the kiddies go in when they sit in this like a ring with a duck's head on it when they go swimming in the paddling pool out at sea. And this inflatable duck was in yellow, and it's bouncing down ahead of the riders along the route in towards Marseille, as if they were looking for a quick dip in the Mediterranean. Well, that will not be today, but I'm sure there'll be a celebration for Carrera, because it looks like they might get the stage yet. This is a chasing group, something around about 9 minutes down. Abdul Japarov easing himself at the back there. Roscioli well away, heading on down parallel to the Côte d'Azur. Beautiful part of the world then here. 9 minutes, he's gone back over to 10 seconds. Over to 10 minutes. And shortly then, we come down along the edge of Nice through just above Caen, past Saint-Tropez, this beautiful part of the world. The bottom end of the Provence region, where the beautiful Rose de Provence wine and the Provençal cuisine, the thick aromatic stews and sweet pepper, lovely part of the world here. Nice salads too. This man will have a really relaxing meal tonight and a massage and the congratulations of his teammates. Here on the flatlands now going on in. Tonight he will savour that meal and the victory, and I'm sure they might just have one little drop of wine to go down with it, because here he's just shown the day that all bike riders hope for. So 23 minutes back to the main field at the moment. They really are struggling, and that's going to help Pulnikov, who's in that group, just been 9 minutes behind him. So in fact, take 9 from 23, 14 minutes. Pulnikov is going to advance up the general classification. So he'll be about 13 minutes back on Indurain at the end of it all. So he could find himself perhaps leapfrogging over Eric Breukink and moving into 8th place. Kierpucci from Carrera this morning was 14 minutes and 9 seconds back. So whilst Carrera are looking for a stage victory today, it could be that Pulnikov also in this group here, and he is riding number 14 if you look for that when we go back. This fellow's going for victory. What a great day for Stephen Roche and Claudio Kierpucci to have their men leapfrog like this. Stephen Roche started this morning in 19th place, 25 minutes 50 seconds down. Claudio Kierpucci started in 7th place, 14 minutes and 9 seconds down. And yesterday Claudio was attacking Indurain, as did Robert Miller. The cracking of the man in the yellow jersey will have to wait until we get into the Pyrenees. But it's been shown now, as this group of riders are coming in behind Roscioli, that once you get one man with a determination to stay away, even a group like this can't pull him back, and they're going to have to be in contention for 2nd place in Marseille when they come in towards the town. Ahead then of these riders and Pulnikov, a long straight sweep in towards Marseille. Beautiful town, lovely harbour. And now then, at long last, you see the careers have got on the front. What they're going to do now is really punch holes in the gap between them and Indurain. They know right now that they can't catch the leader. They've got to cut the time, well, open the gap up between themselves and Indurain, because Pulnikov is going to go up the general classification. This is a great ride then by the Carrera team. They've done a super job today. This man in front is heading in for stage victory, but right behind him, his teammates now are working hard. They won't catch him, but they can punch holes in general classification with 5 kilometres to go. Pulnikov is going to go up into the top 10th, maybe 8th place overall. He's got to come on down in towards the finish, along the Corniche du Président JF Kennedy, along the Promenade Pompidou, into the finish then at the Place du Prado. And there, the Place du Prado, the big seafront, will be just over to his right-hand side. Not far to go now. Just those little drags in towards the finish. Well, it was the 14th of July that Vincent Barteau won here way back in 1989, celebrating the bicentenary of the French Revolution. It unfortunately poured down with rain on the 14th of July across a lot of France this last week, when the celebrations were going full chat yet again. But this man will celebrate tonight, I'm sure. Look, he's still pumping around the pedals, and it's a very appreciative crowd then. They've heard the news of his endeavours. He went away at 104 kilometres, and now coming in towards the finish then, he's really still, look, his legs are beginning to seize up. Oh, you can feel the pain. Almost a victory lap of honour in these final 5 kilometres. There the sign with 4 kilometres to go, cleaving his way through the crowd. Just look at the applause here. Ordinary people cheering an ordinary man with an extraordinary performance. The sort of rider with 5 kilometres to go, who's worked for his team, uphill and down dale, and look at him now, rocking. He is digging so deep. He's ridden so hard. His legs are hurting. 2 days in the Alps. 2 tremendous days in the Alps. Climbing over those mountains which had demolished many men, and seeing them retire and go back home. The stage yesterday, which finished up the Isola, went over the Col d'Isard, and this man fought his way up it. A first category climb at 2,360 kilometres. Then over the Col de Vars, 2,109 metres. Then up the Reste de Fond. He wasn't going up the top with the climbers, sprinting up there, a light, lithe body. He was struggling with the rest of them. Over the Reste de Fond, 2,800 metres. And then at the end of the day yesterday, they had to go 17 kilometres up to Isola and into their beds to sleep. He started this morning at 9:30 Central European time, that's 8:30 UK time, with tired legs after a hard day in the saddle yesterday. Because the stage yesterday of 180 kilometres came after the previous stage from Villers-de-Lans to Serge Chevalier, where again they hit some big mountains. They had a first category, a second category and a Haute category climb, and that's what he had to suffer in the last 2 days. For all the pain and suffering in those last 2 days then, just 1 kilometre toward the top of this sharp little climb. This is the one, the Côte de Perrier. When he hits the top of this climb, he will have just a swift drop down in toward the finish. This is the one that's going to sap the strength, and presumably I hope our producer goes back and picks up the chasers, because they were over 9 minutes back. And if anybody wants to go away that's not a sprinter, they've got to attack on this climb. It's the equivalent virtually of the climb coming up into the finish of the Milan-San Remo. When they go over the Poggio, this is the equivalent of the run into Marseille. Slightly different from the time when Vincent Barteau won this stage. I've certainly seen some great finishes here in Marseille in the past. Eddie Merckx coming into here, Nancy Bleuapart, Louis O'Connor on a great offensive in 1971 at this village here. So for this finish then, one of the longest one we've had for some time then. Looking back at Armani's finish, he went for a long break as well. He was out there for 246 kilometres when he finally managed to just come in ahead, 156 ahead of the Spanish riders. So he was away for an awful long time. This is a place where a lot of riders can have a go on the run in towards Marseille, and this man chose to do it the big day. But look, his legs have nearly seized. He's got to pull himself up over the top of this climb. The final, the third category climb of the day. It's tough. These short, sharp little ones are sometimes worse than the long climb, but that's it. It's all down here, hill from here, grovelling over the top. He's done it. You can almost hear the sigh of relief from this rider, Bruscioli from the Carrera team. 28 on the 18th of July. This is going to be an advanced birthday present for him now, because dropping off the top, down in toward the finish, less than 4 kilometres, and it's all downhill now. The crowd on the far side waiting for the chasers to come up. Tebaldi, Ballerini, Abdul-Japarov, Pulnikov, Tafik, Harato and Ludwig still on the other side of this climb. There's the Mediterranean ahead of him. He survived the final test of this stage, stage 12 in the Tour de France. Keep your fingers crossed for those stray dogs, cats and photographers. Big sweeping left-hander, sharp touch on the brakes. Watching carefully, he's got to be tired now. But his body, I say, the last 2 days, what he's been through. With 3 kilometres now, and it's on the flat. Well, he can sit up now, zip up his jacket. That's a superb ride. Well, you see how far he's in front. Normally where that little central reservation was, there would be a gendarme with a flag, and there wasn't anybody there to warn of the obstruction. That's rather surprising, actually, and I hope that when the chasers come through some 9 minutes back, that there's somebody there to make sure they see it, and the same thing with the main pack, because half the problem today, as the road engineering has been going on with the central reservations and traffic signs and so on. In the old days, the roads were hardly even made, and they didn't go at these sort of speeds. But right now, there are all sorts of obstructions which a rider has to be very careful about. And particularly if, like then, he looked back to see where his team car was, he can't really take his eye off the road ahead. So with 2 kilometres left on the run along the Mediterranean, beautiful part of the world with those magnificent yachts, magnificent food, magnificent drink, and the holidaymakers down here enjoying the sun. I see them down there on the beach there. They've been lying out. They've had the transistor radios going, listening to what's happening out on the tour. They're more interested in building sandcastles. In 1950, he did the Bordeaux Pro stage with 200 kilometres. So he's going to be in the top 10, I suppose, in the terms of the long lone escapers in the Tour de France. And he really is now picking up speed, coming to a finish. This man has never won a race since he turned professional in '87. He's had a second place in the Grand Prix E3 in Belgium in 1990. He had a fourth place in Milan-San Remo. He's not won a race. He's been one of those domestics riding for his other teammates, for Chiappucci, for Roche, and for the rest of the team. He's been out there now since he weighed 104 kilometres, and now, having been out there for some 180 kilometres, he's going to savour probably one of the greatest moments of his life. Pro since '87, never had a victory. Everybody wants to win a stage in the Tour de France, and this man is going to do it, coming down to Marseille after the longest stage in the 1993 Tour de France. He's been in the saddle for 7.5 hours. He's absolutely over the moon with that. That is absolutely great. That is what the Tour de France is all about. Roscioli, the winner of the stage. Chasing group here, coming up to that final climb. Just a third category climb. They're going for second place. The crowd ahead of them, and who's going to take second place? The victor, home and dry, and Ludwig is beginning to suffer. He's dropped off the pace now. Carlotto goes up on the front. Ballerini is with him. And further back then, also suffering, that was Andrea Taffi. Well, the big question is going to be what will happen to Pulnikov on the general classification now, because the winner, Roscioli, we sponge down, waiting for the flowers of victory on the podium. Carotto here, riding off the front. Looks like Tibaldi just chasing after him. Jalabert at the back. Ludwig has absolutely blown and been blasted out. This is a group that only got to within about, 9 minutes of our leader. And it means nothing to them, the gap between them and him. What's the important thing now is who's going to get the second place down into Marseille. It's not really worth much in the record books, the second place, because a stage victory in the Tour de France is the one that really matters. But certainly there are prizes and points still at stake, and that's what they're going after now. Jalabert at the back had been hoping to win a stage in the Tour. He's not going to get this one now. And I should think probably that Roscioli will get the prize for the most competitive rider of the day. The prize worth 10,000 French francs. As this lot now fighting for second place. Ballerini's blown. Abu Jafarov hauling himself past Ballerini. Jalabert sitting on Abu Jafarov's wheel, but further down there, Tibaldi's up in front. Tibaldi followed by Ballerini, and then Carotto in third spot. So still Tibaldi easing himself over the top. And the team victory certainly will go today to Carrera, collecting some 18,000 French francs as well. This has got to be a great day as far as they're concerned. Well, this lot's spinning a bit at the moment. I wonder if they'll come back together or not. Dropping down the second place then is up for grabs already. Roscioli's taken the 50,000 French francs, about £6,000 for his victory. There's 20,000 French francs for second man across the line and 10,000 for third man. These lots really are the only ones in competition for that one. Like £2,500 on the line for second place. Who's going to go for that one? Still Tebaldi riding away at the front. Carotto here, descending nicely. It's only going to be between these three. Ludwig blasted out. Well, I wonder if it's going to be 1-2 as far as career concerned, because Pulnikov is looking good at the moment. I wouldn't rate his chance in the sprint, though, quite as much as Carotto, who's got quite a fair turn of speed, and Tebaldi likewise, but he's certainly having a little punchy go. What if Carrera get 1-2 today? Well, I'm going to make a little chat to Stephen Roche tonight about this one, providing that he's prepared to talk to the emotion. There, the beautiful Mediterranean, and these riders here, no time to bar the scenery. That second spot is at stake, and of course the useful time there, because Vladimir Pulnikov, the Ukrainian rider in the blue and white, just following on behind Tebaldi, Carotto in the yellow. So the stage finished just after 5 o'clock. They averaged something around about 38 kilometres per hour. So it wasn't far short of 25 miles an hour for the stage today for the victor, who's now waiting with bated breath to see if his teammate Carotto tries to launch an attack at the front, and Tebaldi answers him and gets onto his wheel, and still behind, flicking in there, Pulnikov. Eases back. Still Carotto, very, very good sprinter Roman indeed. Winner of that Leeds Classic, well, Wincanton Classic last August. Pulnikov now just going through onto the front, Tebaldi with them. Carotto, winner of the Wincanton Classic last year. Stage victor in the Tour de France way back in 1990. Stage victor this year in the Tour of Italy in the yellow. He's got undoubtedly the biggest searing sprint. Tebaldi moving into second place. Carotto is probably the danger man of this little lot. That's the fellow in yellow looking back now to see if anybody else is coming up to them. And they're all going to take it rather easy here. The deficit then over 6.5 minutes since the victor came in. 300 metres to go, still Tebaldi on the front of this little one. Pulnikov starts to go, little fella this one, and look, coming up from behind, they're trying to close up, but I don't think they're going to get him. Pulnikov is still on front. He's going to be 1-2 for career if he gets this one. There'll be really elation in the Old Town tonight, but Carotto, I think he's just timing his sprint to perfection. Carotto comes off the wheel of Pulnikov. Carotto coming through. Pulnikov's going to have to settle, but Pulnikov is coming back at him. He's not going to make it, or is he? No! Carotto second, Pulnikov into third, Tebaldi into fourth. Jalabert coming down here in the pink jersey, just ahead of Ballerini, and Abdou Jafarov digging deep as ever. He wants the points for the green jersey. He's already got it. He comes inside Jalabert. It's going to be Abdou Jafarov then into fifth place, sixth Jalabert, seventh Ballerini. Well, the rest not in major contention for the green jersey here. Ludwig, previous green jersey victor in the Tour de France. Coming down now. Well, Ludwig rode hard today, but just couldn't stand the pace up that final climb. Coming off his wheel, Taffy having a little bit of a dig. Certainly the career today are going to absolutely trounce the team competition. And Ludwig just spinning past him, pushing him back, but still 8.25 back on the victor. So Carrera got 3 men in already, and the judges will have no trouble at all in deciding who's won the team here at Marseille. The sun beating down, the 31st time that the Tour de France has finished down here, and it's seen an epic victory then for a man who's never won anything as a professional before, but he's done it here in this great city out on the Mediterranean. Marseille, wonderful holiday town, great central port as well as far as France is concerned, down in the Mediterranean. And it's seen yet another epic performance in the Tour de France. The stage tomorrow, by the way, goes out from here to Montpellier. We'll be covering that on Eurosport every day. We're bringing you live action from the Tour de France and, of course, the highlight programmes as well. And the flat stages already begin to put a bit of life back into the Tour, because the way in which Indurain has kept that yellow jersey yesterday and the day before, it really became just a race for second place as regards the overall classification was concerned. But today we've seen what can happen when the lesser lights decide it's time to have a little go. There, Abdul Jafrov in the green jersey. The reason in green, of course, if you only just switched on, let me tell you that yesterday Cipollini was outside the time limit. Nelson abandoned, so Abdul Jafrov, who just staggered in yesterday, he came in 150th out of 151 riders, just inside the time limit, has the green jersey, and we wish him the best of luck when we set off into the Pyrenees, because there's some cracking big crimes there yet to come. Well, the last time check we had, by the way, was that the main group was over 20 minutes back on the main field. And if you didn't hear me say it earlier on, let me tell you that apart from here seeing Roscioli come in into first place to take his first ever victory as a professional, 9th last year in the Championship of Italy, Wincanton race in 1991, he had his best performance, the 31st, by the way, down there in Brighton when he finished 80th in the Giro that year. He had a second place in the Grand Prix E3 in 1990 when he finished 61st in the Giro d'Italia and 72nd in the Wincanton, and he had a 4th place in the Milan-San Remo way back in 1988. So he really has scored a phenomenal success today. We're looking here at the sprint for second place when Pulikov tried to go with a mad gallop a bit earlier on. Tibaldi in the green dropped back, but Carotto, a very steady, good operator who won the Wincanton last year, begins to close up then on Pulikov. Pulikov looking for a second place for Carrera. They got 3 men away in the first 7 places today, and he flicks his wheel, but look how Carotto comes inside him. Punch, 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 looks inside and takes second place. So that's 1, 2 and 3 in the stage today of the Tour de France. On the victory rostrum, the winner today, Roscioli. His birthday will be on the 18th of July. He'll be 28 then, and undoubtedly this has got to be an advanced birthday present as far as this Italian rider is concerned. Disappointment last year when he and Béchart in the Tour of Switzerland swept in for a first and second sprint on the stage victory, and they found they'd taken a shortcut. That was disappointment for him. And look at that smile. First victory since turning professional in 1987. It has to be a stage in the Tour de France. That is storybook stuff. That's fairy tale story, but it's happened. And we watch it on Eurosport. Confirmation then of the result. Nearly 7.5 hours in the saddle for Roscioli, who went away just before the 104-kilometre point had been covered. Pulikov, Tibaldi and Abdul Jafrov, confirmation of their places, just over 7 minutes back on him. And the main field will still be some time coming in, because the last time check we had were over 20 minutes back. And that certainly is going to be a good news then for the Pulikov, who's going to move up in the top 10. But Abdul Jafrov then, the demolition expert himself, has hauled his frame over those climbs today. And after yesterday's performance, when he came in last but one on the stage into Isola, he's got some reward then in the shape of the green jersey. And he's added some more points to that jersey today, and provided he can survive the Pyrenees, then he still stands a chance to get into Paris wearing green. Tomorrow's stage is going to be quite flat, by the way. We go from Marseille to Montpellier. There's only one 4th category climb, so Abdul could still be in green at the end of the stage. He's got quite a hatful of points. The next day we go from Montpellier to Perpignan. Again, a flattish day, so Abdul Jafrov could survive in green then. The question is, can he survive the first day of the Pyrenees, where we finish at Andorra, 1,870 metres above sea level, when we've taken in 3 first category climbs and about 4 second category climbs. down. Can he survive the stage Mandorla to Isola2000, where again we've got 3 first category climbs and an uphill finish as well. This is the man coming towards the line now, who's got to carry that big heavy body over the big mountains yet to come. And once he gets then over the stage on Wednesday, the final 2 on Thursday from Tarbes to Po, just 1 hope category and 1 over the Col d'Aubisque first category. Abdou is going to keep his fingers crossed. His team did a great job yesterday to shepherd him into the finish, and he's kept that. So he's got that green jersey. He's kept it today. He should keep it until we hit the Pyrenees. So the big mountains yet to come. Indurain back in the main field today, rolling on in some 20 minutes down. He's not bothered because he's got the main contenders for the general jersey with him, because Maker is in second place at 3:23. He's with him as well, so is Jaskula. So no problem for the yellow jersey today. The yellow jersey then safely in the main pack behind here. The early man who just came in, Roscioli, so far down on general classification. It didn't really matter. He's riding on here to a triumphant position. Start this morning, 1 hour, 19 minutes and 17 seconds down on Indurain. He's pulled back to like 20 minutes, but so what? He's still about an hour down, which will probably move him up into about, I don't know, 70th place, I suppose, overall. But behind him, his teammate doing a great ride, Pulnikov. Looking at my little notes here, he's probably likely, Pulnikov, to move up into about 7th or 8th place. Round about Kierpucci, pushing Breukink down 1 anyway. Just to savour that moment of glory for Roscioli. 287 kilometres out there in the lead. And Marseille, this magnificent port then, still waiting the arrival of the main group, and the crowd here wanting to welcome Indurain in, because he's done a tremendous job up in the Alps. A great defence of that jersey, and Rominger, who's won a couple of stages in the Alps as well. They're riding in together. Rominger this morning was in 4th place, 5 minutes 54 seconds down. The race today, undulating little conky course, wasn't enough really to start attacking Indurain, and all the mountain climbers then looking down that list of the general classification, Meijer, Jaskula, Rominger and Rees and Hampson and Kierpucci, they're way behind this fellow here, who's no mountain climber. He's a domestic. He's a man who has to work hard to protect his team leaders, and today he had an opportunity to go and win a stage. Then coming off the top of that climb now, this is the main group coming thundering on in. Well, class at the front for Rominger, making sure that they've kept their man round about the yellow jersey. Rominger just in front there of the yellow jersey. They come off the top of that final climb of the day. Something like some 3 kilometres ahead of them in towards the finish. Yellow jersey in there. And Varank, look at this. This fellow did a long, lone ride. He took off on one of the climbs about 40 kilometres back down the road. He's motored in all on his own now. And he's been riding there 16 minutes past the 7:29, so that's 7:46, coming up towards 8 hours in the saddle for some of these riders. Indurain leads him on the descent. Indurain keeping out of trouble on the descent in towards the finish. Rominger and Maker, the Motorola rider, his nearest opponents, have no opportunity today. In fact, I see the Motorola rider sitting just behind Indurain, as he seems to have done for the last 2 days, a bit like Batman and Boy Robin, because they've been sort of glued together all the way through, and perhaps the Motorola rider might have to do something in the Pyrenees. He's always looked very calm, cool and correct, has Baker. And little groups that split off the front, by the way. We haven't been picking up this. It looks like Frank Pino on the front here for Chazal. He's nipped off and caught him napping. I think that's Moncassin alongside him as well. Begin to move in. They're going to be coming in now, something in the order about nearly 7:50. They're 18 minutes down, and Frank Pino having a little thrust on the line. Yeah, Frank Pino it was for the lowly placed Chazal team, but he's determined to have a little go. And that looks like Roche just in here, just behind Miguel Indurain, who's really powering along here. That's amazing. I can't think why Indurain's got to go so quick. He said he wants to give out. Yes, he's Roche. Roche saying, "What the hell are you doing here?" Indurain's really come off the top of that climb, and he's motoring along now. Now then, hang on, where is Rominger? Rominger was climbing up with Indurain. I wonder if he's had trouble, and Indurain now is trying to punch some seconds out of Rominger. I can't see Rominger here. He was there on the climb before. Why should Indurain get on the pedals and bounce along like this, pulling the whole rest of the field behind him? There's something has happened, I think, maybe to Rominger. I could be terribly wrong, but I'll have to wait till the camera goes back down there. We've had no information about this so far, but Rominger was with Indurain on the climb, on the class rise as well when they came over the top. Our camera hasn't gone forward to pick up anybody in the front. Indurain wouldn't deliberately try and take advantage of somebody who's had a major problem, but if Rominger has been to struggle just a bit, well, big lead out here from Motorola. Chandry trying to get himself a nice place here, because even though they're still sprinting further back down here, there are points at stake in the points competition, and Chandry still hopes, I think, to have a chance of batting it out with Abdul Jafarov on some of the flatter stages yet to come. And here they come, Chandry on the front. Indurain's dropped back out of this little lot. Delgado, I'm looking for Rominger, I can't quite see him at the moment. What has happened to Rominger? I may be creating some sort of illusion that probably will happen, but I certainly can't see him. He wouldn't actually contest this, but he's no need to do just that at all. Still Chandry there. Starting to wind it up then. Claudio Chiappucci in the centre with that reddish crash hat. Claudio will have a go at anything. Even, I suppose, the hoopla stall down on the beach, if he saw it, he'd have a go at that as well. But Claudio Chiappucci's not going to get that one. Lamprey looks like Bjorn Rees over the right-hand side. And they're in. I had a quick look to see where Rominger got in that little group. So he may well have been in. I heard Daniel Manga spotted him, I think, in that group. Look at that, 20 minutes back. So undoubtedly then, that is going to lift up Pulnikov. The rest of the field coming in. There are 1 or 2 riders off the back, by the way. Armstrong abandoned today. The American there, Jesper Skibby just coming in. The Danish rider, winner of the stage as well in the Tour this year. Rominger, well, look down this little lot here. I can't see him. I'm looking at this heaving lot whilst the sprint's going on. I'm not describing it for because I'm looking for Rominger. And yes, he is. I can spot him. He's in the middle there, little blue from Indurain back. 1, 2, about 3 behind Indurain. I can see Rominger in there, so he is home and dry. So there we are. So Pulnikov now moved up, and we think he's gone over Broiking on general classification. He's quite to Chiappucci, but Pulnikov doing a great ride there today in that group, coming in something around about 13 minutes ahead of the group which contained Broiking. So there's a little bit of shuffling in general classification, and the rest of these riders very tired indeed. That's what, 7:29, so it's getting on towards 8 hours. Here comes Yellowknighten rolling on in here with Gert Jacobs of the Festina team. Well, this race certainly has thinned down now. About 150 riders left. Frankie Andro coming in. Let's look back down here. That little climb at the end certainly seems to have got at the legs of 1 or 2 of the tail end riders. Well, they'll be happy tomorrow with a somewhat flatter stage. Yet to come, the flatlands, and the riders tonight then relaxing after the longest day. They'll be glad that one's over and done with in the Tour de France this year, because they started at 9:30 this morning Central European time, at 8:30 UK time. So they'll be now just coming towards 8 hours that they've been riding their bicycles. You imagine that, just actually riding 8 hours and averaging somewhere around about 24 miles an hour over some very undulating territory as well. Yarman coming in here with this little group, the riders wedged in the centre here. Ariostir, having lost that polka dot jersey of Kasani, who in fact the polka dot jersey Kasani lost it yesterday, came in 151st, last at 1 overall, just inside the time limit. Just shows you the decimation that happened yesterday up those thumping big climbs. Well, What we're looking at now, by the way, some of these riders coming in off the back of the race. We were talking about Roscioli before, who's been a pro since '87 and hadn't won anything. Many of the riders we've been seeing coming in here have been doing what they can to help their overall team leaders on the general classification. And perhaps one day they always hope here, Roscioli being interviewed for Italian television, they always hope that one day that Madame Fortune will shine upon them and they can have that moment of glory. And I'm sure that he'll have the photographs. Let's listen to what he's saying.
Cerco sempre di tener duro fino all'ultimo e, come ripeto, sempre attaccato da quanto corro in bicicletta. Le mie più belle vittorie da dilettante le ho ottenute in questa maniera e quindi sono contento e soddisfatto di aver ottenuto la mia prima vittoria da professionista al Tour de France e in questa maniera, come ripeto.
Per concludere, a chi vuoi dedicare?
Beh, la dedico senz'altro a mia moglie Stefania e ai miei due bambini Elisa e Fabrizio.
Bene, ti ringrazio.
Grazie.
Congratulations all around there. Then I was struggling with my Italian, which came to a grinding halt some years ago when I was in army in the army in Trieste. I played basketball with the Italian basketball team, but didn't quickly click into that one. But undoubtedly, I think he was happy about for his wife and his family that he'd actually got that stage, and we certainly join in his feelings today. Great elation. Then, as I say, these are the sort of moments of high drama in the Tour de France, when the human stories come through, when the people who do all the work to keep their main team riders in contention have a moment of glory. And so he's had his moment of glory. The thing is, will we have a similar breakaway tomorrow? We have, by the way, a thing called prognostications. All the journalists on the Tour de France and our Eurosport team here, we put down the list of riders we think might finish in the top 5. We give points for each of those, and none of us picked Roscioli today. If we were asked to say who got the yellow jersey after today, I think everybody would have got this fella here, because he's so dominant in the race so far. He hasn't cracked yet. He's been there very strong. He's had and there we are. It's his birthday. I told you at the start of the program, his 29th birthday. Isn't it a nice gesture? They brought him a birthday cake as well. Well, so Miguel Indurain, 29 years of age today, on his way to his third victory in the Tour de France. This is stage 12 of the race. At the moment, he's got a lead of 3 minutes 23 seconds on the maker. 4:31 on Jaskulda in third place. Roman is back in 5:44. Unless something drastic happens to this man, going to the Pyrenees, which is not far from his home area, Pamplona in the Basque Country, then undoubtedly he could have that yellow jersey for the hat-trick in Paris. Well, we're bringing all the action on Eurosport, by the way. He's in yellow. He may take it to the end, but still we've seen today there's still a lot to be done for other riders that can get some glory out of the Tour de France. Our congratulations go to birthday man himself then, Miguel Indurain, married this year, and I'm sure that his wife Ria will be extremely pleased on his birthday. He's in yellow, and he's got yet another little lion then to take home for his zoo. I don't know how many lions he's got now, but there's a fair number of them. That man who now dominates the race, and their confirmation of what I've just been saying to you. Just look at those time gaps. The only way he can lose that jersey is in the Pyrenees. We won't be there for another couple of days yet, but we've got 3 big days up in those mountains, and providing this man holds his cool, keeps his form, then he can keep that yellow jersey. But bike racing, you never know. You can have one bad day and you can lose a head of a lot. So the King of the Mountains then, Rominger, who's won 2 stage victories on the trot now, in the polka dot jersey yet again. Small climbs today, no way was he going to lose that jersey. Tomorrow, no real big climbs either. He's going to have to wait to the 15th stage from Perpignan to Andorra, when we cover no less than 6 big mountain climbs in a day, when that jersey will be under threat. But he's been climbing in brilliant form. He's taken 2 consecutive stage victories on the trot. Rominger then in the polka dot jersey. Abdul Jabbar has the green, and for Eurosport we say bye-bye from Marseille on the Tour de France.